from Iloilo. Yeah, I'm at the beach in my house in Iloilo. And just wanted to come on here. Let me fix my chat here before we get too started. I want to talk about things like we normally do. And and I want to address something that came up and my comment or in the comments on a video that I put out a long time ago. And I addressed it there, but I just want to reiterate it on the live stream here. I had a guy come in there. He watched one of my early videos where I explained how I got the nickname the Colonel. Hey Niels, how you doing there, brother? Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. I'm just on here doing another live stream. I'm going to share. For those of you that didn't see one of the comments a guy made, I didn't delete it. I finally did hide him though, because I just thought I don't want him coming back and just acting stupid and showing his ignorance. But anyway, he watched my video about why I'm called the Colonel. Hey Bellis, how you doing, brother? Yeah, late night. I wanted to get started, but I'm lazy. And I went out early. I had a meeting earlier with somebody at SM and talking about different things and computer related stuff and YouTube related stuff. But anyway, I'm back from Manila. I went to Manila for a few days. And hey Lowell, how you doing, man? Lowell up there in Oregon. And I know you're still working on getting over here. And appreciate you stopping in. And how you doing, Bellis? And yeah, you ought to be getting ready for bed soon, old man. But nah, I'm just kidding, man. Is it raining there in Leyte, or was it a beautiful day today? It was fairly nice here. Fairly nice here in Iloilo. I got to hang out my laundry, so it wasn't raining. But anyway, this guy watched. I guess he went back and he watched my video about why I'm called the Colonel, because I guess he doesn't like somebody being called the Colonel. Bella says, yeah, tired, yes, no, it's nice 3 days. That's great, man. That's cool. It's nice to have a break from the rain over there in Leyte and let the jungle grow a little bit without getting waterlogged. Yeah. Oh, wow, Lowell. Yeah, you better get some rest, Lowell. And, man, you've been up all night, man. Yeah, you can get some rest, man. And I'm actually tired myself, folks, but I wanted to come on here and do this live stream. Thank you, everybody that's showing up. I see the numbers keep going up there, and up to 12. Appreciate that. People stopping in, clicking through, and hang out for a little bit. And I'm going to address something that this guy, he watched my little video about why I was called the Colonel, and I explained it very clearly, why I called myself the Colonel, why other people called me the Colonel, and I explained that it started out as a road name with the motorcycle club, and then it evolved over into my work, where people were saying I looked like Colonel Sanders, and my father was a colonel in the Army, and I was in the Army myself, but I was not a colonel in the Army. I never ever have said that I'm a colonel in the Army. Never said that. Never said I retired. I did retire as a captain, but not in the Army. Okay? But I'm very clear about that, and I never tried to claim that I was something that I wasn't, because I despise that about people that brag and make claims about things about themselves when they just aren't true. That irritates me to no end. I try not to do it. Hey JP, Lowell says the other day I went to bed at 9 a.m. Wow, Lowell, you need to get some rest, brother. JP says, I thought you were the Colonel because you had a secret recipe. Yeah, JP, and that's not the case either. But the people at the place I worked at, they called me that not out of respect. They were calling me that behind my back to make fun of me about my appearance, about the way I looked, because I had a pointy white goatee. Sometimes, I had it pointed like a V. Sometimes I had it going like I had an inverted V. Sometimes I had the Fu Manchu. I used to change up all the time. And, and I was in a motorcycle club, and that was my road name. My road name was the Colonel. And nobody ever stepped up to me and gave me grief about that. That was just the name that I got. And didn't have anything to do with my military service. Let's see. Let me catch up here a little bit. Bella says, yeah, Haiti's going to always hate Smash it. Thanks, Bellas. Yeah, haters are gonna hate, but I just want to talk about this because I did comment back to the guy, and because I've been waiting for him. I've been waiting, or those like him. I've been waiting for people to comment about that, and all they got to do is listen to me and watch me. And hey, Jen, I think that's you, Jen. Good evening, everyone. Murray, that's my good friend Jen, and hey, that rhymes. Good friend Jen. JP says I like Mr. Clean. Thanks, JP. Yeah, JP, I agree with you, Mr. Clean. Okay, so anyway, back to what I'm saying. So this guy went on there and he commented. He said, "That's a bunch of BS. Where I come from, they call that stolen valor, and it's not right." So when I went back to where I came from, my friends used to call me the general. So does that mean that I should start a YouTube channel calling myself the general? And he's like, we call that stolen valor. So I pulled a guy's channel up, this guy named Terry, and he, he's got his little VFW hat on, like my grandfather used to wear, and he's got some white shirt on. He's got his little fruit salad, his ribbons and stuff. It looks like he must have been in the Navy. I was looking at some of his little stuff, and I'm like, dude, I guess it's okay that you're wearing that stuff on a VFW shirt. I don't know all the rules on that. I only knew that, about the military uniform and stuff from when I was in the Army. But I guess it's okay for him to do all that because he's some hullabaloo in the VFW. And you know what? Thank you for your service for all the veterans out there. I'm a veteran myself. And this dude, don't ever, dude, try to presume to take that away from me, okay? But I never said that I was something that I'm not. I've never done that. So you're wrong there, dude, for saying stolen valor on me. I tell you what, that's very offensive. And you're also accusing me of something that's not true. I don't wear a uniform. I couldn't even fit in my military uniform if I wanted to. I don't wear a uniform. I don't wear colonel's rank insignia. I don't do any of that. Dude, it's just a nickname, and it's a nickname on my channel. And if people want to call me the colonel, that's up to them. I don't require that of anybody. But don't ever, that just was so offensive. This guy goes, that's a bunch of BS. We call that stolen valor. I'm like, and then I responded back to the guy, my first response, and I responded back to him. I said, did you even watch the video? Did you even watch the video? And all I can say is I looked at his channel on YouTube, which he doesn't really have a channel, but he's got his little picture up there wearing his little VFW garb. And I'm like, okay, so he's a veteran, okay? So I understand he's concerned about stolen. I don't like stolen valor either. But you know what? If you're going to make a comment about somebody's video or something, make an educated comment, okay? Don't make a comment out of ignorance. Because that's basically what I told him. I said, you're ignorant to a lot of about the facts of this. Watch the video, and you might understand. And you know what? Someone calling someone a colonel doesn't always have to do with military rank, okay? And we had ranks in my job. It had nothing to do with the military. When I worked for the state of Pennsylvania, we had sergeants, okay? We had lieutenants. We had majors. Were they that in the military? No. But did we still call them major? Yes. Was it stolen valor? No. So get your facts straight, dude. This Terry guy, whoever you are. It just seemed to me like you were acting out of it, that you're a little bit self-important, because you're somebody at the VFW. And I'm not going to take away VFW from anybody. My father, he never joined because he's not a drinker, So what I say, Terry, is go back to playing bingo and go back to your bar stool at your VFW and talk to your buddies more and accuse me of stolen valor, which is so far from the truth, man. I really feel sorry for you. I'm kind of, in a way, I kind of feel sorry for you that I think you need to go get checked out, and we need to pray for you, because stuff, like Bella said, haters are going to hate. And that's all good. But you know what? I'm not going to uncheck it. I am not going to uncheck somebody. If somebody's going to falsely accuse one of my friends or falsely accuse me, if I falsely accuse somebody, I hope somebody steps to me and says something. so I can correct myself, or explain myself. But it is what it is. And Marae 18, that's just, she says nice shirt. Now I know she hates purple. Okay, she hates this shirt, so I don't know why she's saying that. She's just being funny. And, but hey, Mr. Clean, that's okay. I wish I had the, it's not a real person, but even if it was, I wish I had his money. The guy that depicted him in the commercials. I'd like to have some of that money. What was that, Mr. Clean? Was that Johnson and Johnson? Maybe Mr. Clean? I can't remember. That's okay. So JP says, Blue Arrow tipped over on a driveway to Eden's house. It's steep, rocky, and Blue warned me on the first trip up. JP, that's going to happen, brother. I hope you're okay. I hope you didn't get hurt. End cap from the handlebar was the only damage. Thigh is sore and small mark on the elbow. Well, JP, you've been riding for years, for a while, and just like I told James from James and Karen Adventures, there's two type of riders. There's those that have been down, and those that are gonna be down. And someone told me that years ago, and I was just like, man, I hope it's never me. But you know what? I remember my first. Well, do I remember my first? I've had several, but yeah, it's no fun going down on a motorbike. I don't care how small or how big it is. It's just no fun. I remember going up the road, going up towards James and Karen's, the road going back to where they live, and in that really thick mud and everything. And I remember, I didn't want to get my new shoes messed up, but I remember the back slipping out, and I'm standing there as the bike flips, and because I didn't go with it, and then it flips up and burns my leg, yeah, I got a heck of a scar from that burn, but it's funny because that scar was over top, or that burn was over top of another huge scar I had from lacerating my leg in Thailand, building quail cages, and I thought it would take care of it. But now that it's all healed up, nope, the scar from the quail cage, it's still there. But it's all good, And May vlog, yeah, okay, whatever that. I don't know what you're saying there, but welcome to my channel. Maybe you can comment, tell us who you are, where you're from, and maybe say something intelligent. And that would be cool. Add to my story or whatever. But basically, tell us where you're from. So, folks, when you come in here, hit that thumbs up. Say hello to the host, which is me. And yes, they call me the Colonel, and I'm okay with that. It's not my real name. That's my nickname, and I'm okay with it. Maybe eventually I'll change it, but it just kind of torqued me a little bit. This guy, you're stolen valor. No, I'm not, man. Get it straight. I need to go back and see if he commented anymore, because I kind of put him in his play, or kind of told him he was ignorant. But we'll see. Let's see. JP says last time I had a motorcycle on the ground was 1982. Washing my bike on grass with only the kickstand. Well, JP, how do I say this without sounding redundant? Welcome to the Philippines, or welcome to Southeast Asia. It's inevitable, brother. Remember I told you a long time ago? It's inevitable. It's a little bit different riding over here. You're going up them mountain, and you got them rocks and stuff, and you don't know if the rocks are going to move or whatever. It is what it is, man. Ain't no shame in the game. Hey, David, another brother in Christ. Oops, I am back. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Every once in a while, I'll take a look at your live stream too when I see it. If I'm on there on YouTube and looking, I'll go over there and see what you got going on. I appreciate you coming over here, man. I'm sure your channel's growing leaps and bounds, and I pray that you're doing well, brother. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for saying hello, putting the chat in there. That helps the algorithm. And I can't even talk. I'm not even drunk. Algorithm, whatever. I'm stone cold sober, But I sound like I'm drunk sometimes, but I'm not. Lowell Matheson says, I had a fellow biker take me out on my bike, and I slammed flat on my back head, bouncing off the pavement before. That sounded like it hurt, man. Did it hurt? It sure sounded like it hurt. That's not good. I remember I was riding, I had a big bike. I had a 1900 cc. It was actually 1864, but Yamaha Star motorcycles in the US, they called it a 1900. And I was just coasting to a stop sign, southeast Georgia, all right? And I was on a red dirt road, and it had rained. And if anybody knows anything about that red dirt, and I'm going to talk like this because I was in Georgia. If anybody knows anything about that red dirt, you know how slick it gets. And I was just coasting, not doing anything, just minding my own business. Next thing I know, that back, and it had a wide, it was a pro street style. It was was that the, yeah, was that my Raider or my, no, I think that was my Star Motorcycles Roadliner. Big bike, massive bike. Next thing I know, that back end just went whoop. It just went right out from underneath me, and I'm on the ground. Yeah, I wasn't a happy camper. I was upset. And then, of course, I'm looking around. Anybody see that? Anybody see it? And then I'm looking at the bike. Did I mess up the bike? It was an expensive motorcycle. And, but everything turned out okay. But yeah, I was not happy about that at all. And I wasn't doing a thing. It just coasting. Just coasting. I mean, it was a good thing I wasn't going fast. But I was just coasting. I mean, I was going real slow in the back. It just went whoop, just went right out. It happens sometimes, JP. That's my point of that story. But, you know, good thing nobody got hurt. You didn't get hurt. Desmond, welcome. G'day, mate. With my best messed up Australian accent. G'day, mate. And good to welcome back, man. Good to see you here. And I appreciate you. James and Karen, Adventures. Good evening, Colonel. Yeah, sorry about that, James. I hit that call in there on you. I wanted to tell you something, but I'll get with you later, man. It's all good. Well, I can tell you right on here. I met with Ed. You know, I met with Edward. We had a good conversation. Nice guy, man. I'll tell you about it later. And David, hi, James. David saying hi to you, James. JP, hello, J and K. Vegas Will, welcome to the chat, Vegas Will. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Vegas Will. How are things where you're at, man? How's it going? I need to talk to Daniel too. He was in Tokyo. I need to talk to him about his trip. I got to message him privately and see how he's doing. Hello, David Golden Eagle from James and Karen. JP says, long day, gonna go to bed. Yeah, rest that thigh up there, JP. And hope you feel better, man. Probably gonna have a nice bruise. Good night, all from JP. Yeah, I'll be following you in an hour or so, JP. I'll be hitting the rack here soon. Hello, Vegas Will from James and Karen. Hello, JP from James and Karen. And good night, JP. David Golden says, yep, up 300 subs this last week. Go, go. Yeah, good job there, David. That's good, man. Shoot, where you're going, you'll probably get monetized before I will. That's all good. It's okay. Was a nice, cool weekend here. Yeah, you know, it's been cooler. I think. I mean, it was cool up in, what was it, last night, the night before, not the night before last, up in Manila. When I walked out there to go to Olive Garden, it was chilly in Manila. I wish I had brought a jacket, and I didn't. I usually do, but I didn't this trip. Because you know, when you travel light over here, you're only allowed, and I fly Cebu Pacific usually. So don't ask me why. I just like it. Some people hate them. But you're only allowed 7 kilograms on your bag. So, you know, I've learned to be semi-Asian. I just travel light, man. That's for the guys. Now, I understand a lot of the girls, they don't know how to travel light, man. I mean, big old suitcase. You know, they're going for 2 days and they got this big old suitcase, a smaller suitcase. They got a handbag, then they got another bag with snacks. It just cracks me up going through the airport. I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I used to travel heavy. I don't travel heavy anymore. I travel as light as possible. And Vegas Will says, getting hot in Vegas now, 90s this weekend. All right. I've been to Vegas, folks, one time. And yeah, I don't need to go back. You know, I did it. I flew in there with Southwest. That was a hairy flight. That was something else, trying to get in there over the mountain and then all the turbulence, the wings are going like this and everything. And I'm like, man, I hope we make it. But, obviously that pilot, he'd flown in there many times and we made it. But I was, yeah, I was thankful when we touched down on that flight. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't need to do this ever again. But now, was it coming into Iloilo or Manila? Coming into Iloilo yesterday. Uh, yeah, that was kind of, that's, that was, there was a lot of wind, I guess, in the Philippines yesterday. And yeah, that was rough getting in. I was glad when we touched down on that one too, because it was, it was doing a lot of bouncing, a lot of turbulence on the landing. And I was getting a little bit concerned, but he touched down. He nailed that landing. I was impressed. I've been on some with this one pilot. His name starts with a V. That guy, he hammers he doesn't nail the landings. He hammers the landings. But it's all good. So anyway, I'll have to go back and check what I was talking about that guy. And you know what? I'm happy that people comment. I just think it's sad when they, like Bell said, haters are they're gonna hate. And I tell people that too. Haters are gonna hate. And that guy, man, I don't know him. And he obviously doesn't know me, or he never would have said that, because anyone that knows me knows that I'm not about that at all. I got the utmost respect for the military, and I never try to. Matter of fact, I don't even talk about what I really did in the military, because it's my business, and if I tell people what I actually did, they're like, what? You did what? Yeah. Yeah, and there's jobs like that in the military and whatnot. And, I get attached to whatever unit. It's just the way it is. And, but yeah, I don't brag about anything. I'm thankful for my service. I do it again, proud of my service. But I don't purport to be anything that I wasn't. Not at all. Not at all. Now, if we're talking about my job after the military, yeah, I mean, been there, done that. I wasn't well liked, and that's okay. I mean, I was a hard person at work. But it's the nature of the beast. Anybody that works in corrections, you got to be, you got to show some tough love, so to speak. And it's funny. But so I had a meeting today with an individual that is very smart when it comes to things on YouTube and whatnot, and when it comes to taking videos and stuff. And I bought him a pizza and everything, and we sat down and talked, and we ended up talking about everything but what I'd intended to talk about. And but a lot of that was because where we were at was kind of like a Faraday cage in there, and we couldn't get any reception on the internet to go over some of the things that we wanted to go over. And that's okay too. I think he was happy to get some pizza, and but what a nice fellow. And I'm talking about James. So, but yeah, he's a good guy, and hopefully, he's going to help me out a little bit. But you know what my issue right now with YouTube and everything is, I'm just lazy. I've been lazy, folks, and I'm kind of like, just please forgive me. I'm kind of like in a little funk right now, where I just kind of like, I'm doing a lot of traveling and this and that and the other, and actually that's one of the reasons I was calling James, because I was getting the urge to go up there again, up to Ackland, and I really shouldn't, because I just got home. I need to stay home, and which brings me something else that's going on right now. My homeowner is finally stepping up, and if you're watching this, brother, don't take it the wrong way. I appreciate it, but he's been busy. He's had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life with his family and whatnot, so I have to give him a little bit of grace on that. But they came by today. I've been complaining about the water issue in this house ever since I moved in. Tried to fix it before I moved in, and it wasn't fixed the way I wanted it to be satisfactorily. And but I think we did a couple things today. He had a couple things replaced, because it's got what they run here is a pressure tank, and then they have a little pump on top of that pressure tank. Well, the pump that he bought, it's it's not a self-priming pump. So you got to go out there. You got to first. It's not connected to electricity. They're using a plug with a receptacle. So you got to plug it in, and you got to go out, take the cap off the pipe, pour water, prime that electric pump, okay, until it starts sucking the water out of the well. Well, and then it runs every 5 minutes. I'm like, there's some leak, dude. We got to fix these leaks. So we fixed the external leaks that I saw. Who knows what's leaking under the ground? I don't know. And so we did. We fixed. He fixed those finally. The other while I was gone actually, and then I said, you know, I think it's the ball. I think it's the valve down in the well itself, so that the water it's stuck open, so the water's draining back into the well instead of maintaining the pressure. There's a little ball that goes up and it closes it up. You know, when the water pushes back again, it stops it from going back in the well. It's supposed to flow one direction, not both directions. And so I finally convinced them, and the owner, I said, you know, let's take care of that. I said, it should be a simple thing. I really didn't know what was under there. You know, I know in Thailand what we did, and we did like America. We stuck the pump all the way down in the well. But over here, they don't do that. So, at least not where I'm living. And anyway, so he cut the PVC, and he said, he goes, you know, we're going to put a valve up here coming off the tank for the water that goes back into the well, and you just shut off that valve. And I said, man, I hear you, and I get what you're trying to say, but wouldn't it be smarter just to fix that ball valve down in the well? I mean, if you fix that that valve down in the well, we don't need to put a valve up here, a manual valve. But then we were talking a little more. I said, you know, I didn't want to argue. I said, okay, put the manual valve on. I said, but I want that ball valve fixed down in the well too. So they agreed, and they did it. And then so he cut it, he pulled it up, and it's just a small little ball valve on it with the screen on. And I was like, I was wondering how that worked over here, and what it was. There was dirt in there because there's so much debris and stuff in this well. It's a shallow well. It's not a deep well, and yeah, and then there's metal. There's some metal flaking and stuff coming from somewhere, but all I see is PVC. But there's obviously metal coming from somewhere, rust. So there's metal, there's particles in there. So he took that all apart, cleaned that all out, put that back. He got that working again, and then has a little O-ring. Well, he dropped the O-ring down in the well. So back to the hardware store again to get an O-ring, and yeah, it was crazy. It was no big deal. It's just, I know he was getting frustrated because he went back and forth like 3 or 4 times to get different stuff. And I had some stuff here, and I had tools and stuff here, so, and I gave him my Teflon tape that I had, but I guess he wanted more, so we went and bought more of that. That was one trip. And then we went and got that washer, it's actually an O-ring. That was another trip, but hey, that was his fault that he dropped it, not mine. And poor guy, I felt bad. I did feel bad, and I even looked, I said, well, you know, I got some O-rings and stuff, but mine they were way too small. This was a big one. And so far he put it all back together, and I haven't heard the pump come on right now while I've been sitting here. So it seems to me like that I was right with what I said about the valve down in the well was what was the problem. What had happened was I thought it was worn out, but it was actually debris down there was holding it open. So when I unplugged the pump, because I don't want the pump running all the time, because you know I have a 10 to 20,000 peso electric bill. That pump runs all the time. It's not I don't think it's an inverter, but and plus this noise is all get out. And those of you that have been on my live streams before, you know how loud that pump gets because you hear it. And it may come on while I'm talking, because I hold on, did I leave it? Yeah, I left it plugged in because I'm kind of testing the theory. And then he's like, well, you know, if you go away or whatever, manually turn off that valve going into the well, and we'll see. I'm like, okay, buddy. All right, cool, yeah, whatever, man. And so we'll see. But if it fixed that, and I told the owner, I said, look, even if I unplug it, all I want is when I plug it back in, that I don't have to go out there and prime that pump. And I said, because I would have rather had, you know, a self-priming pump instead of this cheap pump that we put on there, you know. And but it is what it is. We'll see, and hopefully my electric bill is going to be high this month because I installed the air conditioner because I had new windows put in, and now I paid for that. I knew he wasn't going to pay for that because he's like, hey, it's got windows, but I didn't like the windows that were in there, and I'm the one who's living here right now. So it is what it is. It wasn't that much money, and it's out of my pocket. I would rather he would have paid for it, but when you want something extra that the owner could get by with what was there, then you got to figure, you got to make a choice. And I had the money, so I went ahead and did it. I don't know, I'm going to do like some people have spent, 100,000 or more pesos on their rental house, and that's up to them, because you want to be comfortable where you're living. And for me, I don't mind spending a little bit because I like to have goodwill between me and the homeowner of the houses that I rent. That's just good human interaction. Now there's other people that, man, I'm not doing squat. That's not my house. I ain't doing anything for those people. And I'm like, well, I understand that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way, but don't expect them to do anything for you either. I'm more kind of the attitude of like, you scratch my back, I'm gonna scratch your back, and man, that's pretty funny. Should be scratching my back. Well, that's after these little tweezers. I use them for building my little one of my little hot rainy day hobbies, and that's the little Tamiya cars. So let's see. Vegas Will says travel while the weather is good, and BJTS64 says hello, welcome to the chat. Good to see you again. Appreciate you being here, and thanks everybody. I'm looking up at the top there. Wow, 12 people, 15 thumbs up. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm just talking about what's just updating everybody on what's going on with the Colonel right now. I went to Manila for a couple of days. I accomplished one thing that I went there for. I didn't accomplish the other. And hey, I'm still living alone here in my house. It's all good. I thought that was going to change there for a little bit, but it didn't. And that's okay. Moving on. That's the way I look at things. And I'm not going to preach at anybody, but I'm going to just throw this out there. These are 2 verses from the Bible that my mom gave me, and I've kind of committed them to my life, because it's wisdom, and it's from the book of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. A lot of people know that, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not unto your own understanding." Now I forgot the rest of it. And all I ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. Had a brain cramp there. It must be getting old. But anyway, so the point of that is this, is that I believe everything happens for a reason. And it's also that way in relationships. Everything happens for a reason. And not everything in a relationship, let's be honest, not everything is good. Kind of switching gears now, going from one thing to a totally different subject. Yeah, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, and all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. If I hesitate in between, then I'll forget. So my point is this, not to preach at you, but when we trust, and I trust in a higher power, which I call God, and if you look up the meaning of God, there can only be one. Okay? So having said all that, that's how I live my life. And I've learned to accept certain things. Do I get angry? Do I get upset? Absolutely. Even Job got upset at God through all the trials. If anybody knows the story of Job, where he had everything, lost everything. And then he questions God about why, basically, I'm paraphrasing a lot. Basically, why me? And God's like, hey, where were you when I formed the foundations of the earth? Who are you to question me? It's just little things to think about, And I don't know where I was going with all that, but anyway, hopefully you get the gist of what I'm saying. Basically, it supports my idea and my thoughts that everything happens for a reason. We don't always understand it, and we're not always going to understand it. And there's some things that we're never going to understand that happen to us, but they still happen to us, right? Still happens to us, no matter whether we understand it or not. It doesn't change the fact that something happened. Let's get back to, let's see, Vegas with travel. Yeah, travel was good. Yeah, I got that. Hey, Vaughn is in the house. Finally made it to a Colonels Chronicles live. Hey, Vaughn, you've been here before, I believe. It's just been a minute. You know, maybe a couple minutes. But it's all right, man. I'm glad you made it. It's this is kind of a weird time, especially for people in the U.S. and one that's probably not a good time, maybe. Uh, Definitely not a good time over here because it's so late. But you know what? I had something I could be doing here, but I just decided I want to go live, you know. And I just updated. I just saw an update on my watch hours, and you know, I picked up like 29 more hours. I was happy about that. I don't know how that occurred, but maybe that was one of the days I did a long live stream. I don't know, but I was happy about that, and I appreciate y'all doing that. That's not me doing it. That's you all do it. Although I do, you know, I try to work some things out that help that along too, and it's all good. But today I was, and you know, I've showed this before, but the other reason I went up to Manila is because I wanted to restock some things for my hobby, and I wanted to pick up or order some things that I've been wanting for a long time and just haven't done it. And are these like things I absolutely need? No, they're not. But it's just a little bit of fun in my life. And at my age, you know, I'm relaxing. And when it rains, I don't watch television that much. I don't even have Wi-Fi here at the house. I do all this live streaming and stuff just on strictly on my data. So when I watch TV, I have to use my phone as a hotspot, and that's how I watch some of the stuff on the television. Because I don't have any, you know, I don't have anything set up for that. Just straight. And I watch YouTube on there. I watch, it's a TCL, so I watch TCL because that's free and whatnot. But so one of the things I went to Manila, you know, like I said, we were talking about earlier, I went to meet a friend that I dated before, and it just didn't work out this trip. And up to her. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. You know, I had a friend of mine say, "How you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Well, you know, it didn't work." I'm like, "So what?" You know, yeah, I was a little bit disappointed, but you know what? Like I said a minute ago, there's a reason for everything. And there's a reason why I'm not with that individual and not going to date that individual anymore. And honestly, not to be arrogant, because I ain't nothing that special. But you know what? Having said that, I'm also not down on myself. Her loss, not mine. Although, a little bit of my loss, because I liked her. But it's okay. But the other thing, there's a hobby shop at Glorieta 2 over there in Makati, okay, at the mall, at the Ayala Malls and that whole complex. It's called Lil's Hobby Shop, the Brickyard. I like to go in there, and I was going to say, "You got anything new?" And the guy said, "Let me see, okay, yeah." And he starts showing me little things like, "No, I got that, no, I got that one, I got that one." And then he showed me this one, and I don't think I had this one. But this is one of my little hobbies that I'm getting into here in the Philippines. I don't know if you can see that. No, it's going to be backwards. But anyway, that's a Tamiya car. Yes, folks, the Colonel's 61 years old, and I'm still building little model cars, and I'm still playing with toys. Because you know what? The good Lord allows me to do it. So I'm doing it, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it. And these things, you know, it ain't like the old days when we built the other mile. I talked about this on one of the other live streams, but now I'm back, and that was another reason why I went to Manila. Truth be told, I wanted to go to that hobby shop 'cause I haven't been there in about 6 months, and I wanted to go pick up some stuff, and I bought some track. So I bought quite a bit of track. So I don't have a lot of room in this house. But I'm still going to set that track up in here, or a little bit of it, so I can put the batteries in these little cars and run them around that track. At least I think that's what I'm going to do. Or I might not. Someday, if I live long enough, I want to be able to have a place that has a big area, concrete area, or whatever, where I can set up my own track. And maybe I can get some other expats to get into these little cars too, and you know, we'll race them together. We'll have fun with it. We'll play around with it. Because the Filipinos, and even some Americans do this in the U.S., but the Filipinos over here, the young guys, old, maybe some of them are older. I've even seen girls, and they're into these little cars, man. And they sit there and they tinker with them and they tweak them and do everything to make them not just faster, because you can put a super fast motor in these. It's not just about speed, but it's about balance, and it's about keeping that little car and the track. And the tracks have walls on them, and you can make these tracks. And they got zigzags, they got jumps, they've got go up the wall, banks, curves, all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if any of you have ever watched them when they're doing it. And the reason that's one of the reasons I got into this. I was in Rojas City one time over in Robinson's, and that's not there anymore. And Gino, Gino's probably in bed by now, but if you watch this at any time, Gino, they moved that track, brother. We talked about that in your live stream the one day, but they moved it. It's now in Gaisanos. It's not in Robinson anymore. I wondered. So I asked. I was up in Rojas City the other day, and I asked them, hey, what happened to the Tamiya track? And the security guy, oh yeah, they moved that over to Gaisano. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to go check that out. But that's how I saw these tracks here in the Philippines, and because I didn't see these in Thailand. I saw them in the Philippines, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? I'm watching these things go around, weird looking cars, because they got all kinds of little doodads and stuff on them, and I actually have, I don't want to get up. I actually have some built at they're on display in my bedroom in there, up on some little shelves I have. But this one here, this Aero Thundershot Advanced Pack TKC edition, this one looks pretty cool. This is a AR chassis. They have different chassis. You got AR chassis, MA chassis, FMA chassis, MA, what else? What's this one? This is an MS chassis, this one. And this is one, I was up late last night working on this one. And this is just the body for it, but check this little thing out. Yeah, working on that one. And I tell you, believe it or not, these are all stickers. And what a pain in the backside to put some of them stickers on. And I'm a perfectionist, so I'm trying to get them just right and everything. And sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. And then I got to peel them off. It's a nightmare. But you can also paint these little cars. And some of them are interchangeable and whatnot. You can put different chassis on, but on the different bodies. But yeah, and it got the little wheels and everything, and actual rubber wheels. And so it's just something I saw, and I thought, that would give me something to do. And I was talking to a friend of mine in America, and he's like, do they have any models over there? Because he married a Filipino, and he's like, I'm into models, building models and stuff. Gluing together the Revell models and the other, even Tamiya next. So he said, do they have? And I said, yeah, they got them over here. I'll look around. So I did. I found some for them, and you can get them on Lazada too, but you can go to the hobby shop, and there's a hobby shop right beside Lil's. I think they're all connected, basically. Same people, different shop, but same company, basically. And they have models in there, and they got the tanks, and they got the cars. I've got all kinds of stuff. So I was able to take pictures and show him. I did that last year, showed him, say, yeah, man, they got this stuff right here. You want me to get you anything? And then I told him, hey, I got into this Tamiya stuff. Now, I haven't raced any yet. Excuse me one second. I got another one here. This was another new one I thought was kind of cool. Look at that. And I'm colorblind, but that's a purple translucent body on that one. And so anyway, that's some of the stuff I do to pass time, And yeah, look at that. See, you can see through it, basically. And but you can paint these things, whatever you want to do with them, and it's all good. Vaughn says, we are waiting for my kids to get out of Sunday school. Oh, that's right. It is that time of the morning, and it is Sunday. Okay, cool. Where you go to church, Vaughn? Just asking for a friend. My imaginary friend. No, I'm asking for myself. And Primero says, hi. Hello, Primero. Thanks for joining us. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. Helps the algorithm. And since I've been talking for 44 minutes, hold on. I got to get a drink here. Yeah. Non-alcoholic. Because I don't need alcohol. I'm high on life. I'm laughing at everything. Stone cold sober and laughing about it. It's all good. Some people like to go on a live stream, they like to drink, and they like to have a good time, and that's fine. You know, and their buddies come on there with them, and they talk back and forth and talk about what they're drinking. I can talk about what you're drinking too, because I ain't gonna lie. I like the stuff. I just choose not to drink it because I don't want to get drunk, and because when I get drunk, I get silly, and when I get silly, I get stupid, and then when I get stupid, I say things that are stupid. You know what I mean? And I do things that are stupid sometimes. Ask my ex-wife. But yeah. I'm not going to tell that story. I'm not going to tell myself on a live stream like that. But I did some when I was young and dumb and in the army. I shouldn't say dumb, but when I was young, yeah, I got drunk one time. I used to drink back then, and I shouldn't have, but I did. And you know, she was into it too, I guess. But yeah, I had too much, and I said something wrong to a person I shouldn't have said it to, and yeah, I had some explaining to do. Remember Ricky Ricardo? Lucy, you have some explaining to do. Yeah, I had some explaining to do, but I really didn't know why I had to explain because my wife was standing right there when I said it to this other lady. You know, but yeah, it did. Yeah, it was that was not good. It was not good. So that's another reason not to drink and why I don't drink. And hold on one second. I gotta looks to me. Hold on, I gotta fix this camera. Hold on one second. There we go. Is that better? Yeah, that looks a little. I think my camera was dirty. Let's see. Lowell says, "I'm going to try and get some sleep. Take care and God bless." Lowell, you take care of yourself, man. And for those of you that don't know, I think Lowell's talked about it, so I'll just mention. Lowell's got a myriad of health issues and whatnot, and he's on all kinds of medication. I don't even know what all. I couldn't remember it, even if he did told me some of it. But he's on all kinds of stuff and got a myriad of things going on. You know, he's just trying to live his life. He wants to come over here to the Philippines, and I surely wish he could, but right now he can't. So he's still working on it, and I applaud you for that, Lowell. You're still trying to figure it out, man. You're still trying to work on it and figure out how you could make it happen. Because if you ever do, we're going to get together. I hope, Lord willing. And you know, obviously, I don't think we'll have pizza, but you know, we got to eat something healthy for you. And but anyway, I'd like to see you. Same thing. All y'all, Vaughn, come on, man. Daniel, you know, Sergeant USA, come on, waiting on you. You went to Tokyo. Time to come over here to the Philippines, man. And yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, if you come to Iloilo and I'm in town, I'm here, and you can get a hold of me, yeah, I'll go meet you if I don't have anything going on. Absolutely, why not? I had a lot of stuff going on today, but I still had time to go and meet this gentleman because I needed some of his answers. I had to pick his brain a little bit about a couple of things because, you know, it's been a long time since the colonel's been in the IT world, so to speak, and I'm still just learning, you know. And I mean, even Bellis, old cowboy like Bellis, he's more advanced on some of this technology stuff than I am. Now I'm more advanced than he is about a lot of other things, but you know, it's just the way it is. So you have to lean on the people that have the information that you need and glean that from them, and hopefully they'll do the same thing with you. And if they're talking garbage, then leave that alone. Leave the garbage in the rubbish bin, as they say. But you know, pick the people's brain that have more knowledge than you do about a certain subject matter and learn from it. You know, because I'm sure someday, maybe not, but maybe you know something that they don't know, and they might come back to you for the same favor. Say, hey, help me out. Help me out with this. I don't really, you know, I'm not familiar with that, but I know that's what you do. And you know, I had a father that was very intelligent, man of God, studied the Bible all the time, always studying, preparing his sermons, and this, that, and the other. And you know, we used to play certain games, especially if we played trivia or something like that. You couldn't beat that guy. I mean, he was always reading the newspaper, always reading all the time, studying, doing this, that, and the other. But I tell you what, hey, Dad, got to change the oil in the car. Take it to the shop. I'm going to change the oil in your car. Nah. I'd rather just take it to the shop. They know what they're doing, and they can do it. You don't need to do that. I'm like, Dad, I know how to change the oil. Or how did I know how to change the oil? It wasn't because he taught me. Okay, I taught myself. So all this stuff that I know that has to do with mechanics, even IT, I'm all self-taught, folks, or taught by friends and acquaintances. I got a question about YouTube or whatnot. I ask James and Karen, or I'll ask rock and jazz, or I'll ask other people back before. I used to ask Mike over there in Masbate. I don't ask him anymore, and that's okay, you know. Or even Michael Smith, if he's so busy, but when he has time to talk to me, I'll pick his brain too, because that's how you learn. If I don't know anything, I built a house in Thailand, excavated a huge lake over there, moved boulders around, drove a tractor, did all kinds of stuff. Had I ever done that before? I'd driven a tractor before, but before I did it the first time, had I ever done it before? No. You learn by doing. Don't be scared to try something new that you've never done before. Do a little bit of research. Have somebody who's done it before teach you. That's what I did. I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. I'm living over there in Thailand. I can speak the language more than most foreigners, but I don't speak it fluently. And sometimes, we talk sign language. We'd be talking in sign language, and they're looking at me like, what's this Falang saying? I'm like, yeah. But, with my broken Thai and this and it would make it happen. And I had more fun on that Kubota tractor. And I got a message there from somebody I was waiting on. But yeah, so you just teach yourself, and you do what you got to do, and you become a more well-rounded person. And talking about that's one of the best things I ever did was grow up in Germany, for 3 years and 3 months in the 70s. I lived in West Germany, and I tell you what, I hated some of the stuff my parents made us do, but that whole experience, even though I was younger, I was 10 to 13 years old, that made me a more well-rounded young man. And it also gave me a perspective, a worldview that's different than most Americans. Because I was able to go to a foreign country, a different language, and see that, hey, these people aren't any different than I am as an American. They just speak a different language, live in a different country. But you know what? Their blood's the same color as mine. They wear clothes just like I do. Now, they're a little outdated because they were behind the U.S., but they listen to music, they eat food. Some of us a little bit different, but it opened my eyes to like, hey, the United States is not the only country in the world that people can live in and thrive and be productive and be happy. A lot of Americans forget that, or maybe if you're from a different country, you think your country's the only place to live and that you can do well. It's just not the case, folks. And even though Thailand, listen to me, Thailand too, but I'm in the Philippines now. And even though here in the Philippines, things are different from my culture and whatnot, and they're different from the culture in Thailand, somewhat, not in everything, but somewhat. Hey, everybody's still living over here. They're driving vehicles, doing this, that, they're eating a lot of rice. That might be a little bit different than the U.S., but you know what? They're living their life just like you and I would do. Let me catch up on some of these on the chat here. Jap. I haven't seen Jap in a while. Hey, Colonel. You Purple Rain. What? With that, Prince, be proud of you. Oh, my shirt. Yeah. Yeah, my purple shirt. This one, actually, believe it or not, and Jen knows this, Murray, that was on. This is my favorite shirt right here. Sometimes I forget I have it, and then I see it, I'm like, yeah, I haven't worn the Purple People Eater shirt in a while. Remember that song? Purple polka dot People Eater. Yeah, I remember that song. Dating myself now, folks. If you know that song, you might be as old as I am. That's funny. But yeah, purple polka dotted People Eater. Yeah, and you know what, Jab? I don't care about Prince. But we can sing some Purple Rain if you want. Purple Rain. That guy, I had a friend, went to see him in concert. He said that guy was so arrogant in concert. So I don't know if he was high or if he was drunk or what, but my friend said that guy was so arrogant and degrading to the audience in that concert. That was probably at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, or wherever the Cap Center is. I think that's where it's at. That's where they used to have the concerts. He said he got up there on stage and he said, "I want to thank all y'all for wasting all your money, whatever it was, $56 or whatever a ticket, to come see me play, do something I love or whatever. But he was like telling them they were stupid for spending all the money to buy a ticket to see him. I'm like, what an arrogant sucker, you know? And my friend was like, yeah, man, he was really arrogant, real cocky, and like putting people down for spending money to come see him. I'm like, well, that's a good way to keep people from not coming to see you ever again. But but hey, in all fairness to Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince, or whatever he called himself before he passed away, hey, the man was talented. I might not like everything about him, but he had talents. He had talents. Wish he had used them a little for things a little more productive, and you know, but hey, he has to answer just like I have to answer. So, oh, there's the cat jumping on the roof of my house. Kamandera Yokini. Boy, I know I butchered that name. Hello from Seattle, Washington. I was wondering how much you paid for your minivan. I'm looking for the same type minivan 4x4. Well, Commander, I'm going to call you Commander. I paid 340,000 pesos for that, but I got different stuff on it. They don't cost that much right out of the box, so to speak. They're cheaper than that. But I had the VIP treatment done on the inside, and which basically is a nice quilted like headliner on it, padded headliner. I had custom seat covers put on it with the color that I specified, how I specified. I had off-road package put on it, which means they put mud tires on it and some nice mag wheels on it. They put a lift kit on it, and I want to save all that for my upcoming video. I'll show all that on my video. So you can get them for some places you can get them for under 300,000 pesos. But I think now the going rate for most of them is here in Elo, it's going to be about 310, I think. Now you got to understand too, I got an automatic because I got the DA64W. And you can get the DA64V, I think it is, which is like I have the electronic doors, so the doors open automatically. I push a button and the side doors on both sides open up. And I think the V, they don't do that. Everything's manual. And the windows go down electronically. That's all part of the Every Wagon, the DA64W. So that's what I got. So yeah, anywhere, and they're going to run you anywhere from 250, 275 to 300 up to 400,000 pesos, depending on what you get on it. I got out the door with mine with 340,000, and it could have been less than that because there's like the rack I put on top. I didn't have to put that on there, and I'm not happy with what they did. But it was a small one. It was like 3,500 pesos, so I'm not too worried about that. So we'd be doing a lot of upgrades and more than likely spending a lot more money on it because I told him leave out the sound system. I want to do that myself aftermarket. And that was the other thing too. I was asking him for certain stuff, and he was telling me, "Hey, just get that on Shopee or Lazada. Get that aftermarket. Get that aftermarket. Do it yourself aftermarket because you'll save money getting it aftermarket." So, and that's they don't really call that a minivan. They call that the multi-cab over here. I guess in the U.S. they're calling them K cars, KEI. But I got a kick out of mine. I'll show this on the video eventually when I get it done. Where I've got it's a Suzuki Mazda, or it's a Mazda Suzuki, and I'll show you what I mean on that. It's kind of funny. If you look in the videos I posted already, the shorts, you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe you didn't take notice, but it was one of the first things I noticed when I walked up to it. I looked at it, I'm like, what? And I started laughing. And I told Ray, the owner there, or the guy who runs the shop, I'm like, what's up with that, man? He just looked, he's like, what? I said, look, It's a Suzuki Mazda. And he started laughing he just shook his head. He's like, ah, they must have been bored. I said, yeah, I know. They must think I'm stupid. I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty funny. So I'm going to keep the Suzuki on because it's a Suzuki. It's not a Mazda, but they like to put emblems and stuff. Like you'll see, they like to take maybe they're doing this in the U.S. I don't know, but over here, if they have a Ford, they like to take the Mustang pony off and put it on the Ford trucks and whatnot on the grill. Maybe they're doing that in the U.S. with all the Fords now. I don't know, but I kind of get a kick out of it. I think it's funny. Ah, Panay Hart is here. She says, "Hi, Colonel." That's great, Panay Hart. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, that's great. It must be early for you, Panay Hart. Are you going to mass this morning? Sorry, I was getting messages up there, folks. I should have turned the sound off to them, but apologize for that. Jap says he was definitely controversial, but loved his music. I'm now far behind you in age, Colonel. Yeah, well, you're older than dirt too. That's okay. Yeah, he was. I don't know that he was really controversial, except he made himself controversial. You know, that was part of his marketing himself, changing his name to keep himself relevant, and in the music news, so to speak. He had some good songs. I like some of his songs. I ain't gonna lie. Overall, it's not my style of music, but he had some songs I liked. I'm not gonna lie about that. I was more of a Leonard Skinner. Well, I was really a big time Rush fan. Um, the only thing I didn't appreciate about Rush is that Neil Peart was into he had some strange ideas about worldview and spiritual things and whatnot, where he and I didn't totally agree. And yeah, he said some things that made sense too in his lyrics, but to later on they started to get really, to me, anti-God and whatnot, and I didn't appreciate that, so I stopped listening to their later music, and because I really felt like he was going off in a deep end in an area that I don't agree with. I don't believe. I'm not anti-God, and I'm not an atheist, and I'm not sure if he was or not. He died a couple of years ago, or last year, or the year before last. So he had brain cancer. I believe one of the greatest drummers of all time, greatest rock drummers of all time. I might be a little biased because I was a Rush fan, but that guy, they don't call him the professor of the drum kit for nothing. If you go watch a Neil Peart drum solo, it's something to behold. That guy he was a technician. He was so technical, and I watched interviews of him talking about his preparation and what he would do, and it's because he was a perfectionist, and before they'd go on tour, before they do a concert, they would hammer out they wanted everything to be perfect, and I went to see them one time in concert when I was in the Army, and one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. Now normally I listen to Christian music and Christian contemporary, and I've been to many of those concerts and seen some great concerts and some great shows and whatnot. Listen to some great music, but as far as secular music and secular rock music, that Rush concert was something. That was something else, and that was the I think it was the Subdivisions tour. Was it Subdivision? Yeah, that was great. They opened it, and I saw it at the Palmer Auditorium down in Austin, Texas. And they started the concert on the big screen behind the stage of the space shuttle being launched. It was cool. That was something. And I mean, it was just the whole play. It was like rumbling from the rocket engines and stuff. That was cool. One of the best shows I ever saw. And those guys were talented, really were. Panay Hart says 6:59 a.m. here. Just woke up. Well, top of the morning to you, Panay Hart. Welcome to the world. I know you're probably going to be doing something. Are you going to walk around again today? Well, you're probably going to church today. I wake up usually this morning. Well, there's just so much I want to say to that, but I'm not going to. I think you meant to say I wake up usually this early in the morning. I think that's what you're trying to say. That's okay. I do the same thing. Jap says, haha, the sign formerly known as idiot. That's great, man. I love it. I love it. And Jimi Hendrix, he's got that song Purple Haze. And when I was working at the penitentiary, that was back before they banned tobacco out of the federal prisons. We had a Cuban detention unit, and those guys, man, they would smoke nonstop, and then they would make these little smoke ropes, and out of toilet paper, they would twist the toilet paper and wrap it around and make it real super super tight, and they would light that so they didn't have to ask the officers for a light to light the cigarettes. And the officers don't want to have to go down rain all the time to light cigarettes. They're like, hey, when I make rounds, I'll light your cigarette. But some of these guys, they'd be pounding. So the Cubans, though, they figured it out, and they would make a smoke rope. But anyway, because of that, there was always smoke from the tobacco and from the burning toilet paper all through that housing unit. And I think that's some of why I have some of the lung issues and breathing issues and whatnot that I have, because breathing that for 8 to 16 hours a day, if I was doing a double shift, it was a nightmare. I would go home sometimes and I would just like drop my clothes, especially when it was dark. I'd drop my clothes outside the front door because I didn't want to walk in the house smelling like an ashtray, and worse than an ashtray, and because it was so thick. But my point is this: we'd come out of the office and we'd look down the range, or the tier, whatever you want to call it, and it was like purple haze, man. It was just purple smoke. It was just, and I always thought of Jimi Hendrix and the song Purple Haze whenever I'd walk, especially that unit. And back then, the whole penitentiary was smelled like smoke. You go into TV rooms, and it was just like stale cigarette smoke, and it was, and the Cubans were, they were smoking Kite and Bugler, and then we started giving them this BP 101, this government generic tobacco. Who knows what was in that stuff, man? But I breathed all that, and I just wonder what kind of condition my lungs are in, because 5 years at that place, and before I transferred out, and of course, honestly, 4 years, because I spent a year at the boot camp working at the intensive confinement center, and I enjoyed the heck out of working there. But wow, 16 thumbs up. I appreciate that, folks. 7 people still hanging out. I appreciate that, because I need the watch time, folks. I ain't gonna lie. I don't usually beg, but yeah, I need some people to watch my videos and help a brother out a little bit. But if you don't, that's okay too. But Jab, I love that, man. The sign formerly known as idiot. That's great. You're not talking about a president, are you? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about politics. Panay Hart says, I'm sorry, I usually wake up early morning because of my son. I knew what you meant, Panay Hart. I was just teasing you a little bit. Because I'm kind of a sarcastic, smart Alec. I was going to use, I should have said a different word, because someone else would have used a different word, but, or they would say, yeah, he's a smart butt, but use the other word. Excuse me. That means I've been talking too much. Let me get another drink here of my special non-alcoholic watered down Tang. So if you come to my house, don't get a drink from this. This is my jug, okay? This is my water bottle, my Tang bottle, my watered down. Yeah, what I do, 1 packet of Tang is for this whole container, but I'll drink it down 3/4 or 2/3 of the way down. Then I just fill it back up with cold water and I drink it again. That's I tell myself that's my sugar reduction routine, instead of, because there's so much sugar in Tang. But so I adjust it. So out of 1 packet, I get 2 bottles, and I'm telling myself I'm cutting the sugar in half. Not really, but anyway, that's what I tell myself, just to make myself feel better. But my heart's laughing. And Commander says, sorry to bother you again. Well, builder for Suzuki DA64W, if you want to say. If not, no big deal. Well, I can't tell you exactly who the builder is, okay? But it was built over in Cebu. and but I got it from DMD here in Iloilo. I did if I were to do it over, what I really would like to have done is go to Mindanao or go over to Cebu myself and order from one of the places over there in Cebu, because I think I would have had a little more control over it, and I could have maybe monitored it a little bit more. And there's some aftermarket companies over there in Cebu that will do a better job of customizing than what I had done. So I really haven't had anything done except for the headliner and the seats as far as customizing it. But there's companies over there in Cebu that will take it and just like make it look like something else. Make it look really, really good. And I've contemplated that, getting on the row and taking that over to Cebu and going by some of these companies and checking them out. The problem with that is I would have to leave it with them until they did whatever I wanted them to do. So some of it I'm going to try to do myself. Like I've already ordered some. Yeah, we'll wait that for the video. But I've already ordered some stuff that it's still not here. It should have been here by now. I'm waiting on it, and I'm still trying to figure out who's going to do the stereo system, and what system I'm going to put in there. Because it really comes with stereos. It really comes down to how much money do you want to spend. It's really what it comes down to. No, there's the water pump. First time in a long time. So it's definitely doing better. It's been over an hour since it's come on, so it's doing better, but it's still not perfect. So I probably should unplug it for tonight. Let's see. Panayhar says, it's okay, no problem. I'm just glad, Panay, you can laugh with me. It's all good. Jap says, hi, Chump is worse. He's winning. That's big. It's over for him. Are you talking about Trump? I don't know. He ain't worse than Biden. I don't even know how you can go there, but whew, don't even get me started. That's why I don't talk about politics on here. Joe Schmo's waving, says hello. Salute, Joe Schmo. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Commander says, we're going to order from Dodong, Logan, and Davao. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you're going to get a multi-cab down there in Mindanao, sky's the limit. They do some really good work in Mindanao from the videos that I've seen. Very impressive. And I don't go to Mindanao. I haven't ever been to Mindanao, so I didn't even contemplate that. I went locally to help out a local business, and then I asked him when he was doing it. He goes, "Oh yeah, they're built in Cebu." I said, "Okay." I was wondering because I don't see you fabricating doing anything here. So they're fabricated over there in some yard over in Cebu, and they sent me pictures a couple times because I asked them to during the process because I wanted to check on it. What's the status, and I'd watch videos too of watching them being assembled. But yeah, I was looking. I was like, man, I hope this thing ain't gonna look as bad as it looks right now, and it doesn't. It's not perfect, but it looks okay. There's definitely things that can be improved on it. There's also some things on it that I didn't know were going to be on it that I like, and but I'll have a video about all that. I don't want to put that out on the live stream. I'll put that out on a video. You guys can watch that when it comes out. I'm hoping James will video that for me and help me out a little bit, and hopefully we can. I might put together a short video before I do the long video about the first part of the process before I actually received it. I might put that together as part one, and then part two will be the actual walk around and the introduction and showing different things about it. But we'll see. I'm working on that, folks. Just be patient with me. I can't even drive it yet because I'm waiting on the paperwork from the LTO. And there again, those of you that live in the Philippines, welcome to the Philippines. You know what I'm talking about. You buy a new vehicle or you buy a used, whatever, you got to wait for the LTO to get you the ORC. That's just the way it is. Let's see. Here's looking forward to your videos Okay, brother. Yeah, just be patient with me. They're talking, when I asked them about the paperwork, they're like, month and a half from the LTO and ELO. I'm like, month and a half? Come on, man. My motorbike only took 3 weeks, at least to get the copy of it. And then I had to wait another, I don't know, month or 2 weeks, maybe another month for the actual original ORC. And it's okay. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate that you say that you're looking forward to it. Hopefully, the reason I'm talking, having James do it and stuff is I want to do a quality video about this multi-cab because we're starting out with just the basic, even though I got the VIP treatment and all that, it's not good enough for me. So um, it's to me, it's just a basic, multi-cab van, and I'm going to make it more than basic. And there's several different ways I can go with it. I haven't totally decided which way I'm going. Some people, make it into a camper. And I thought about that. I also wanted to be able to haul my motorbike in it. Thought about that. So but I can't have both at the same time. But I can configure things and make things that slide in. If I want to sleep in it, I can do that. If I want to just take it, gecko, I'm watching a gecko go up the wall here by my window. But if I want to sleep in it, I can do that. But if I want to take the motorbike, well, then I'm going to have I'm going to fabricate a front wheel stand so I can just put the motorbike up into it and lock it into that little stand, and I can take my motorbike with me. Now, honestly, I don't see myself doing camping because my camping days are over. But I would like to have that so that if I'm with somebody, if somebody was tired, they want to lay down, they could lay down. Maybe have one bunk bed or one bed over there, one rack set up so somebody wants to rest, or if I want to rest even. But I don't sleep without my CPAP machine, so it's kind of worthless for me to try to even sleep without that. So eventually, maybe there's going to be a solar battery pack eventually, and talking a lot of money for those. So that'll be in there eventually, and the sound system, and yeah, I don't know. And I'm gonna have to fabricate ramps to get the bike in and out of it easier. I could get it in and out the way it is because it's low enough to the ground, but I still like to have a little ramp. Just makes it a whole lot easier just to push it up instead of lift up the front, push it forward, lift up the back. Because my bike is light enough to do that. And honestly, too, while I'm single and living alone, my little bike's fine. But if I have a girlfriend stay with me or anything like that, and we want to go anywhere on a motorbike, I'm gonna have to buy a bigger bike, and like X Max or something like that. If I want her to be comfortable. Not everybody, can get on it like James and Karen and get on their XL and ride around all over the mountains, everything, and be comfortable. For me, I get uncomfortable, and if I got a lady with me, a young lady, old lady, whatever, I want her to be a little bit comfortable in the back there. It's not like having the Harley, where if the ladies are always comfortable, okay, and I'm not trying to get crude or anything, but if you think about it, you know why they're comfortable back there riding on a Harley. There's just something about it. Once a woman rides on a Harley, not all maybe, but usually once a woman rides on a Harley, she don't want to ride on nothing else, because there's just something about the way that Harley motor. Yeah, they enjoy that, and that's all I'm going to say on that. It is what it is, folks. Family friendly channel, so we'll just move on. Let's see, you can always add rooftop tent and do both. Well, I don't want the rooftop tent. I've looked at them, Commander, but I have looked at the awnings and the different types of awnings, and I might go that direction. But I want to get the proper roof rack first, because I don't like what they put on. It's a cheap thing they put on there. I don't like it. But yeah, I've looked at that. But I won't be doing the tent because my tent days are over. I don't enjoy it. But having an awning to have a picnic or a barbecue or something, absolutely. And I looked at they have some that are 360 and 270 that go, they'll go around three sides or all the way around. I've looked at them too. We'll see. They're a little pricey, but we'll see. Because if I get one, I want one that's good quality. I don't want garbage, and I want a hard case for it. I don't want the canvas or the other because it'll flap too much in the wind, and that's annoying driving down the road here. Pop, 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 pop. I want a hard plastic case for the awning. So we'll see. We'll see. I got all kinds of ideas, and if you guys got ideas, and when I do that video, if you got ideas, man, make the comments. But I hope I get all kinds of comments. I know I'm going to get some negative comments too, and that's okay. You know, you do you. I'm going to do me. You know, and then we'll see. And yes, I'm a poet sometimes, whether I know it or not. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But my camping days in tents are over. I don't do that anymore. Panay Heart says, I enjoyed my husband's Harley, but it has been a while since he drove that bike. He won't drive here in California. Why won't he drive in California, Panay Heart? And what did you like about riding? No, don't tell me what you liked about riding on it. But am I lying? You know, most women, they like to ride on a Harley because that Harley has a distinct feel to it when you're riding it. And I miss my Harley, man. Not for the same reason the women miss, but I, you know, if you look on my channel page, folks, that black Harley with the little the skeleton hands holding onto the mirrors, that was my Harley. And I hated to sell that, but when I went to Thailand, I finally had my brother sell it. And I wish now I had taken it to Thailand. I really do, but I wasn't sure what it was going to cost me. And, you know, found out later with the visa I had, I could have shipped it over there custom free. And just like here, when I got my SRRV here in the Philippines, I had 90 days to ship whatever I want with, you know, custom duty free. But I didn't do it. I didn't have anything. I'd already shipped everything here. And because I didn't get my SRV right away. I waited a little bit. I had to wait till I had the money to do it. Saved up my money, then I did it. And I don't usually advertise all the time for people, but I went through C&G Consulting in Cebu. A lot of people do JRC, and they're fine, I guess. I've watched interviews with them. A very knowledgeable guy, but I went with C&G, and you know what? I had no issues at all. They handled everything for me. Now, it took me longer than I wanted to do, but that was part of that was the holidays, and that was PRA, Philippine Retirement Authority. It didn't have anything to do with C&G Consulting. They did their part, and they'll do their part for me every year when I have to, you know, pay my $10 or whatever it is to renew. Let's see. I love the seats. I think that's what you meant. Yeah, well, most women like the vibration of the Harley, the way the Harley motor goes, the motion, and whatnot, without getting too good. Most women like that on the Harley. And yeah, it was funny. You know, that's another stupid story. I might have told this one before too, but my ex-wife in America, you know, when I got my motorcycle license and I wanted to get it, we had an agreement, and the agreement was I could get whatever motorcycle I wanted if I lost 20 pounds. And I said, how about I lose 25? I can get whatever motorbike I want. She said, really? 25? Yeah, I'll do it. Because I was working out and I was in the mode, the weight loss mode, and I did. I think I was doing like a modified Atkins diet or something. But I lost that weight. And while I was losing the weight, I went to the Harley dealership and I started looking at some Harleys. And I was looking at the price. I didn't like the price. So I started looking at the pre-owned or the used Harleys, and I found one that I liked. I found one that I wanted. And I went back and told that evil-hearted woman that, sorry folks, I shouldn't do that, but yeah, it is what it is. But I told her, I said, I found a motorcycle I want. She's like, oh, please don't tell me it's a Harley Davidson. You're not getting a Harley Davidson. You just want to be like everybody else and have a Harley. And I said, well, matter of fact, it is a Harley Davidson, and that's the one I want. Then it was, well, we can't afford a Harley. I said, it's a used one. It ain't, you know, it's not new. And she, no, you're not getting a Harley. You can't afford it. So bottom line, I ended up not getting a Harley. I got a Yamaha. My first motorcycle was a V-Star 1100. And I enjoyed that bike. You know, my first my first time I went down, I forgot about that. First time I went down was on that bike. I got sideswiped by a guy who was getting on the on-ramp coming out of the city of Philadelphia, getting on the 95, and this dude came up and he just took me out. And I was down sliding, I was sliding up the ramp, if that makes, I wasn't sliding down, I was sliding up the ramp. And that joker just kept on driving. I was so mad. And then it took Philly PD so long to come out there. And lo and behold, the captain, I was a lieutenant then. The captain came out and saw, he just happened to be driving by. He'd been out playing poker at somebody's house. And this is like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And Philly PD, they were driving by me. And I'm like trying to wave them down because I wanted to file a report and do a hit and run or whatever. They wouldn't stop. And then finally he flagged one down and he told them what was going on. They're like, you'll have to wait. We can't help you. And he's like, excuse me? After all we've done at the institution for Philly PD, especially during the Republican National Convention, all that the free water, everything that we helped you guys, and he goes, you can't even help out one of my lieutenants that's been in a motorcycle accident, motorcycle wreck. My bike was tore up, and long story short, finally, Philly PD van came out. They made a report, and basically, I was just like, okay, that was a waste of time. I was not happy, and the cat, he was not happy with. And I'm going to withhold his name, but he wasn't happy with Philly PD either. And it was just one of those, and it was crazy. And but I was able to, my handlebars are all jacked up, but I was able to make it home. And God bless that man. He followed me all the way home. Now, I lived like 30 minutes north of the city. And he lived in the opposite direction. But this guy was he was a good captain, he was such a good guy. He followed me all the way home to make sure I got home, And this lady, as soon as I walked in there, she was like, where you been? About time you got home. I'm like, excuse me. This is before cell phones, folks, okay? And I'm like, excuse me? I said, I just got sideswiped, almost lost my life. And the best you can, I had called her. I didn't have a cell phone. And it was early days of cell phones. I didn't have one, but I think the captain called her. Somebody called and said I'd been in an accident and whatnot. She didn't care at all. Her thing was, are you okay? Did you get hurt? None of that. None of that. It was like, well, it's about time you got home. I was like, okay, that's when I knew this lady does not love me. She does not love me. And whatever, I got so many stories like that where talk about being married to somebody that had no feeling, didn't give two shoots about you. I mean, oh my goodness, she's something else. And she's still living, folks. And it's funny, let's see, we separated in 2007, took 4 years to get divorced. But I talked to her a couple years ago, and maybe it's been almost 3 years now. First time we ever talked. Except for one sentence where I told her, what makes you think you can talk to me? And before I walked away. But this time we actually had a conversation, a friendly type conversation. And that woman, she acted like none of that ever, like nothing ever happened. And she was just the best wife. And I was just like, I'm on the other end of the phone call, and I'm just like, who is this? What? Because she never did apologize for cheating or anything. She thought she was justified, and I was just like, who is this person? It just blows my mind. To this day, it blows my mind her thinking blows my mind. But anyway, my heart says, I didn't feel the bumpy road. I love the comfortable feeling of the Harley. He didn't want to drive here because it's more crazy and risky here than when we were in Florida. Well, that may be so. I've never driven in California. I've only flown into California. I've never driven there, so I don't know. You mean Eric Estrada and what's his face, John Baker, the actor? That's not the actor's name, but you mean they're not out there with their Chips motorbikes, keeping everybody calm? Yeah, I used to watch. I love that show. It's such a corny show, but I enjoyed it. I mean, looking back on it, it seems corny. At the time, I thought, man, this is great television. And plus, it was one of the few shows we were allowed to watch. I think because my mom thought that the guys were handsome or cute looking or whatever, and she would never admit that. But I know because I went to her Red Cross office where she did volunteer work, and when you closed the door, she had a big poster of what's this? Excuse me, of Tom Selleck. And after my brother and I, after we saw it, and we asked her, like, well, "What's that, Mom?" You understand, my mom was a very devout conservative Christian. So after we saw that poster, and then she got to thinking, like, "Ooh, maybe, oh, that's not good. I'm married, and maybe the boys will think something," and which we did. And she got rid of the poster. I'm like, "Are you serious? We don't care." It just showed us that, hey, maybe she wasn't so perfect after all, you know? My mom was something else. Oh my goodness. I remember one time I told her, I said, "Mom, did you ever do anything wrong in your life?" Because she always treated us like she was perfect. And we were, we were the ultimate sinners and whatnot. And we were so bad and whatnot. And I remember one time, I didn't backtalk her. That would have been a huge mistake. But I asked her, I said, "Mom, did you ever do anything wrong? Did you ever sin?" And my mom's like, yeah. She goes, "Yeah, I'm not perfect. I wasn't perfect." And then she commenced to tell me a story about something really bad that she did. And I couldn't believe she did it. I was like, "What?" And yeah, she commenced to tell me it. And the shame of it is, I had done something similar to what she did. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not going to tell that story either. And because it was bad. I probably should have gone to jail for what I did. She should have too, but she didn't, and I didn't either. Because the person that pointed out to me what I'd done, basically they caught me, gave me a second chance. God bless them for that. Because what I did was wrong. And but anyway, took something that didn't belong to me. But I gave it back. Gave all of it back. Let's see. Because I'm not perfect either. Good evening, Colonel from Obi Adventures. Obi, good evening, man. It's late. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate that. I know it's late, folks, here in the Philippines. But I heard, oh, wow, that woman is something else. I assume you talk about my ex-wife, not my mom, because my mom was something else too. But yeah, my ex-wife. Oh my goodness, and I don't even care if she watches. I wish she would watch. I know she won't, because she hates computers and whatnot. I used to play on the computer a lot. Oh, she used to hate that. "Don't you have something to do? You're gonna sit there and waste your time playing a computer game." And I'm like, "Yep. It's my day off, you know. It's my day off. I'm going to relax a little bit. I work in a federal penitentiary, or I'm like, I work in a federal prison. Cut me some slack, lady, you know. All you do is go to work and socialize. You just go to work and talk to your friends. You're not in any danger there. It's just a big social club." That's what I had to deal with. And people at work wonder why I was always grumpy. Why I come to work always in a bad mood. Really, I should have been happy. The times I was happy, I was like, yeah, I'm happy to be at work and not be at home. Which is a shame. Marriage should not be like that, folks. It should never be like that. Unfortunately, for a lot of people it is, and for me it was. And I can blame myself for some of that if I want. Because unfortunately, the stress and the crappiness of the job I had, I did take that home with me. As much as I tried not to, it's very difficult not to take some of that home. So you'll see a lot of people in corrections have broken marriages. It's unfortunate. It's wrong. But most of us can't cope with some of that stress. The stress is monumental. For those of you, you're like, nah, you don't know. Hey, do you want to go work in the prison? Would you have wanted to trade places with me? Do my job, I do yours. Now, there's other more dangerous jobs out there, maybe. And there's definitely more stressful jobs, probably. But The stress is real, and working in prison, not for everybody. Not for everybody. Okay. Yes, it was about your ex. Okay, thanks, Panay Hart. I assumed you were talking about my ex. OB Adventure says, hello, Panay Hart. Vaughn was telling me yesterday about how he had so many things in common. Heading to the Philippines in July, and my son is 10 in the spectrum, and we started homeschooling this year. I don't understand, Obi, I don't understand the part where my son is 10 in a spectrum. I'm sorry, I don't understand that. Obi says, I'm still in Columbia, South Carolina. Dude, I've been through South Carolina many times, and I like that state. And I actually dated a woman from South Carolina. She's married now to somebody else, but I dated a woman from there. She was a nice lady, good lady. But yeah, I enjoy South Carolina. I didn't enjoy the South Carolina State Troopers so much, but I enjoyed that state overall. And I don't think they ever got me. They came close a couple times, pulled me over, but they didn't. And I think I slowed down in time. But I Heart at Home says, hi, Obi Adventures. Obi says he has autism spectrum. Okay, Obi, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I wasn't sure what, I figured it was something along those lines, but I didn't want to say because I wasn't really sure. And but God bless you. And you know, I'm a firm believer that the Lord doesn't give us children that we're not prepared for, and doesn't give us any hardship in life that he also doesn't give us the grace to be able to handle. I don't know if that makes sense. You may not even believe in God, but I'm just, that's my worldview. That's the way I look at things. And, you know, the good book, the Bible says, you know, my grace is sufficient for thee, and that's from God. So, words to live by. Write that down, folks. Let's see where we at. Okay, Panay Hart. Yeah, same age as my son. Our kid has superpowers. There you go. There you go. It's all perspective and how you approach it. Panay Hart at Home. I hope the homeschooling works well for him. You know, honestly, folks, this might make some people angry, but I'm a huge supporter of homeschooling. But now, having said that, homeschooling takes dedicated parenting. And, you know, normally, because this is the way society is, just usually the homeschooling is done by the mom. So that's just another responsibility on the plate of a stay-at-home mom. You know, it's hard to work for a woman to work and also do homeschooling. It can be done. It can be done. And I mean, the way we work, it was important for me when my children were younger. I had 4 children. It was important for me when they were younger that their mother was at home, because that's the way I was raised, or that I was at home. It was important to me that a parent was at home at all times when my kids were at home. And so that's why my ex, she stayed home for probably the first 10 years or so after we started having children. And then she did start working part-time, but she would go to work after I would come home. Then she would go to her job. So my children always had a parent at home. Some people can't do that. And we really couldn't do it. I had no money. I wasn't making very much money, but we made a conscious decision because that was important to us, that the younger children, before they were in school, definitely before they were in school, that they had parental guidance, you know, to bring them up in the way that they should go. So that was a decision we made. Now, it cost us financially, and we were poor. And I don't go lie to you, we were poor. But I think it was worthwhile. All my children are successful, and they're not in prison. So I'm happy. That was my goal, keep all my kids from being in prison. So I'm happy. I'm pleased with how my children, I'm very proud of them. Even though my children don't talk to me hardly ever. My son's been talking to me recently, but I'm proud of all my children and how they turned out, even though I don't agree with some of their views on certain, I definitely don't agree with my daughters with their political views. And I definitely didn't raise them that way, but that's what secular humanism and your American universities and your liberal arts college, that's what they will do to your children. You raise them one way and indoctrinate them one, and then they go to a secular university and get indoctrinated a totally different way. And if they're not strong enough they're going to get swayed, and that's what happened. And I'm sad about that. But they don't want to talk about it. My kids don't want to talk about it. They just get upset. I'm not talking about that, Dad. I hope, okay. Michael's in the house. Michael said hello. Hello, Michael. Thank you for joining. Hey, folks, thanks for everybody that hit that thumbs up. You know, I'm double. I got 9 people in here, 18 thumbs up. That's awesome. That's an awesome way to. And there's another person popped in. Thank you for showing up here, and thank you for visiting the Colonels Chronicles. We're just talking about a myriad of things. That's what I always do. And sometimes I'll repeat myself from one live stream to the next, but oh well, that's what happens when you get my age. You know, but I still have fun doing it, and hopefully you guys get a chuckle here and there, and if not, that's okay too. Panay Hart says my child is in the public school system. It's not an easy road, but homeschooling isn't working well for him. Extra help would have been nice. He doesn't have friends around us, neither relatives. Yeah, Panay Hart, not everything works for everybody, okay? You have to do what's going to work the best for you in your situation. If you have the networking and the, what's the word I want? Is it networking? If you have the structure set up for the homeschooling and you have support, like support groups and things like that, especially if people have a child that has special needs and whatnot, you know, you got to have the support around you. If you try to do it all alone, I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but it's more difficult, and it's easier if you have people to support what you're trying to do with your children, even with homeschooling. Because there's groups out there, homeschooling groups and whatnot, that like they'll get together and do things. They'll go on a field trip. They're all homeschoolers and whatnot. And we wanted to homeschool our children, but we were so poor, but we did not have enough money for the curriculum to buy the books and stuff. But had some help early on from my parents. I was able to put my kids in a Christian school, and we had some help because it wasn't cheap. And the first one was at the church that we went to. They had their own school there, big Christian school actually, with that church. And so we started them out there, and then I moved to West Virginia, and I was able to put my son and my daughter, and my oldest daughter, in a Christian school there. And that Christian school was a little bit, I didn't agree with some of what they were teaching and some of what they did. But my dad helped us out with the money on that one, because back then I still wasn't making very much money, even in the prison. And so I wanted to homeschool, but I wanted to use the Abeka books from Bob Jones University, and a lot of people might have a problem with that university. Whatever, that's up to you. This is many, many, many years ago. But we couldn't afford the curriculum, but to do it at home. But we were able to send them to a school where they were using the same curriculum. And we had to pay for the schooling, but we would have had to pay even more for the curriculum, the book, if we were buying the books ourselves. So it worked out, and my kids got a good foundation, reading and stuff like that, because that system was, some people don't agree with it. They say it's bad, but for my kids it worked great. It's just like for me, when I went to school, I was when phonics first came out, and when I went in first grade, they had this system called ITA, and basically ITA was a phonics-based system. So when I learned the alphabet and how to read, I learned it. We had special letters, and we had these like diphthongs where 2 letters joined together and to make a phonetic sound, and that's how I learned how to read. And you know what? It was very beneficial, and I think it put me ahead of other students. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant or anything, but they actually wanted me to skip 4th grade and go right into 5th grade. And what had happened earlier is my brother had been held back a year, and my parents were like, no, because he used to be 2 grades ahead of me. But then we were 1 grade apart, and my parents said, no, if you let him skip a grade and go right, he and his brother will be in the same class, and we don't want that. I thought it would have been a blast. I thought it'd been a blast being this, And it'd been funny because I could dig at my brother about it a little bit. Yeah, dude, you're older than me, but guess what? We're in the same grade. You idiot, you dummy, but you big dummy. And but anyway, it's neither here nor there. It worked out better. I would have been way too immature, and that's what my parents were thinking too. That you're too young, to be up with the older kids. But I don't know. School just came natural for me. If the teacher said it, I got it. But later on now, when I went to the college, that hurt me because college was a different animal where you actually have to read the books and you actually have to study. I never had to study all the way through high school. I never had to study. I didn't have to study for any exam. I could listen in the classroom. I could take the exam and get a 100% on the exam. It was just easy for me. And it doesn't mean that I'm so smart, and that's not what I'm saying. Just for some reason, school was easy for me until I got to college. Then it wasn't easy anymore. And I learned the hard way. And I ended up going back to college in my 30s and then getting straight A's because I was too immature before. And I was chasing girls all the time. It was stupid. But anyway, Obi says, very high functioning with social issues. So happy about homeschooling. He's no longer getting bullied, and he's so happy. His grades were raising the public schools statistics. Yeah, see, Obi, that's what I'm saying with Panay Hart. Your situations are the same but different. And, one way works well for one, and the other way works better for the other. And that's the way it is sometimes. But back to what I'm saying about the homeschooling is, I'm a supporter of homeschooling. I wasn't homeschooled. I turned out fine. So I'm not like beating down public school. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think if you have the ability and the means and the way to do homeschooling, I think it's great. Doesn't mean everybody has to do it. Now, back in the day, how were kids in America educated? They were taught at home. If they were farmers, they were taught at home. Now, we did have schools early on. Even my mom, she went to a one-room schoolhouse. And where that one-room schoolhouse was, is there's a Methodist church there now. And it cracked me up there in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where Mom was like, yeah, I was in a one-room schoolhouse. I'm like, man, you're old. That's great. Goes back to what I said the other day. I asked my mom if she had ever met Abraham Lincoln, and I was dead serious. I was totally serious when I asked her that. I'm lucky I'm still alive. Panay Hart says, that is amazing. Obi says, very much a Christian, Colonel. I believe that we live to serve our King and our fellow man. There you go. I'm not going to dispute that at all. I'm not going to dispute that at all, Obi. And God bless you for that. And listen, folks, I'm not perfect at all. I'm a sinner. I'm not a good man even sometimes. And I struggle with certain things. I struggle with women. I ain't going to lie. But I'm a believer. Okay? Or as they say here in the Philippines, they ask me, where do you go to church? Because I'm not Catholic, so, they know I'm not Filipino. I'm not Catholic. I said, well, I'm what you guys call born again. And then, oh, you're one of those. I just kind of laughed there, like, oh, you're one of those. And I'm like, yeah, I'm one of those. Whatever that means. Cracks me up. Panay Hart knows I'm not Catholic. Let's see. OB Adventures. Homeschooling was or is easier than what anticipated, and we're using a Virginia State Christian curriculum. Easy to follow and worth it. $2,500 per year. LOUA is the name. LOUA. Yeah, I've never heard of that, Obi. And honestly, for me personally, as my story, $2,500 a year, I would not have been able to afford it. And that was one of the problems I ran into back in the day. I wasn't making as much money as I made like when I retired. But you got to understand, back when I was in the Army, my annual salary was just over $5,000. I don't know how I do know how we survived. I worked another job. But back then in the military, we didn't get paid anything. It's sad what they paid the military back in the day. You're on duty 24/7, potentially, and you're making peanuts. I mean, it was crazy. I delivered pizza on the side when I'd get off duty just so I could pay my rent. It's wrong what they did to the military back in the day. I don't care what they thought. It was wrong the way they treated us, pay-wise. Obi says, I'm a Southern Baptist. All right, Obi. Well, you and I got a lot in common. I wouldn't say I'm a Southern Baptist, but I believe in the Baptistic teachings, basically. Um, there's some things about Southern Baptists that I don't necessarily agree with, but that's splitting hairs, and it's neither here nor there. I do believe in submersion baptism. I don't believe in sprinkling like the Catholic Church, but it's just differences of beliefs and things like that, and some misinterpretations and whatnot. And yeah, Panayar, I know you're Roman Catholic. I remember our conversation. You got angry with the colonel, and because I was speaking the truth in love, girl. But you got mad at me. But I didn't say anything that wasn't true. I stand by what I said, and I wasn't beating down the Catholic Church. I was just beating down some of the mentality here in the Philippines by quote unquote Catholic people. Not all, but some, and some in the government. I was a Catholic when I was younger, but chose to recommit myself and be born again. Hey, Obi, God bless you, man. Now, Panay Hart, don't get mad at him for saying that. Everybody's different, and we believe differently. And what I say to that too, people are like, well, who's right? Who knows why everybody believes, they believe what they believe is the right way, and this, that, and the other. And when I say that, you know what? We don't all have to agree. But in the end of time, somebody will have been right, somebody will have been wrong, and then I always add, and I think we're all going to be surprised. That's what I add to it. And my dad kind of taught me that, a little bit. And my dad was he was very conservative Christian. He stood by everything. He was a man of conviction. I wish I could have half the conviction that he had. I wish. I'd like to think I do, but I know I don't. I wish I could measure up to his belief and whatnot. I won't upset you. Panayar, you don't upset me. Or you mean you were not. Okay. But your husband got involved. I remember that. And Panayar says, my husband is a Christian. I remember we were having that, we were kind of like conversation, debating a little bit back and forth. Her husband came on, he goes, I kind of liked it. We were just talking about planting corn and growing corn. And I was like, message received. That was funny. That was really fun. Because I really didn't mean anything by it. I was kind of having fun with it. But I was serious about the divorce. It was about the divorce law. No divorce in the Philippines, but they'll let everybody live in adultery. I don't agree with it, but don't agree with divorce either. However, I am divorced, and it's a reality in life sometimes. But some, they want to live with their heads in the sand about what's really going on. That's up to them, and I don't even want to go over that discussion again, because you're not going to change how you feel about it. I'm not going to change how I feel about it, and it's okay. We're still friends. We had a lot of conversation about my belief and his belief. Yeah, it didn't break our marriage. Well, and it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. If you love each other, there has to be an understanding. And this is like my dad used to say. My dad used to say he had more in common with some of his Catholic priests, because my father was an army chaplain, okay? Very conservative and not ecumenical. But he used to say, I've got more in common with some of the Catholic priests than I do with my fellow Protestant chaplains. I'm like, yeah. I saw it later on. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because you got some Protestant chaplains that don't even believe the Bible is the Word of God. So I was just shaking my head. I was like, what in the world? But, yeah, so I understood what my dad meant. And he's right. Let's see. Panay Hart, we got married in a Christian church. Well, a Catholic church would be called a Christian church too, correct? It's all, Excuse me, I'm thirsty again. Or I'm sure milking that tang, aren't I? Trying to make it last for the whole live stream. Yeah, it's funny, Panay Hart. When I got married, first time, oh, hold on. We'll get back to that. My heart. Me and my husband can't get married in a Catholic church because he was married before. Also, his ex-wife is still alive. I can't explain the logic. My husband joined me when I go to Catholic Mass. Yeah, so you guys have worked out what works for you in your marriage and what's the best. And I did not know that the Catholic Church wouldn't allow that. So, yeah, so if I wanted to get married here in the Philippines, I guess I can't marry a Catholic girl, or we can't get married in the Catholic Church because, yeah, they're not going to accept me and my past and my situation, even though I know in the eyes of God I'm forgiven. I don't know why the Catholic Church can't recognize that, but don't get me started. Don't get me started on the Catholic Church. We'll get James in here, and oh my God, James will start preaching at me. Tradition, tradition. Okay. And but anyway, but it sounds to me like you guys have a good arrangement. You have it worked out, and God bless you for that. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Like I said, in the end, we're gonna know who's right and who's wrong, and who did things the way that was pleasing to God, and things and people that didn't. That's what it says. That's what's gonna happen. I said, just let me clean the toilets. I'm good. Just let me into heaven. I also joined him when he goes to his church, but for now it is a challenge because my son can't handle a crowd. Yeah, I understand that. I don't know an explanation. Ha ha ha. Well, I think Panay Harp, there's a lot of people out there that are not understanding. Even they say they're Christians, but they're not understanding. But you know what? There's also a lot of people out there. They might surprise you and be more understanding than you think. You know, but it takes the right kind of people. And shame on the people that can't handle it. I'm not gonna lie. I dated a young lady in Thailand for about 1 month, and she had a son who was severely he had autism, so low. Um, I don't want to say low functioning, but he couldn't speak. Um, he would make noises and things like that, but she wasn't really doing what she needed to do to help him so much, because Thailand, it's different in Thailand, and that's something that they don't know how to handle that real. And I was trying to help her a little bit, and because I like this girl a lot, and I was looking, I was like, okay, can this work? Can I handle that? I'm like, I raised 4 children, I think I can handle them. But one day, and he used to do some abnormal things or strange, and I like one of his things was, and this was a big boy. He's half Thai, half Danish. His father was from Denmark, and she was married, and he was killed. She was a widow, and so he got killed in a motorbike accident, actually, in Thailand. And it was a sad story. I'm not going to tell the whole, but it was a sad story. But yeah, one day if we went somewhere, we always took him with us, usually, unless her mom watched him. And then, but one day we came, and his habit was he would walk in the door, and then he'd strip off all his clothes. And this was a big boy. I told her, I said, you can't keep letting him do that. That's not. One day you're gonna be at the mall, and he's just gonna strip down naked and start running through the mall. I said, you need to have some structure and teach it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And Obi saying heavily toilets is laughing. Yeah, I laugh at that too. And Joe Schmo says, I'll clean the toilets, just let me in. Yep. And I know more than that. I kind of say that in jest, but it's just that I say that that's my humility speaking. I don't feel like I deserve anything, and that's where grace comes in. But anyway, yeah, one day he was running through the house, and he jumped. I was sitting on the couch, and he jumped on me with his whole body, his hand, right in the solar plexus. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital, and that's when I realized, this kid's only 7 years old, but he was as big as a 10-year-old, and I'm like, this kid's going to kill me one day, not on purpose, but by accident. And so, yeah, she and I had a long discussion, and I had to walk away. Now, we're still friends, and we still keep in touch with each other, because she was a sweet, she was a sweet young lady, and she still is. And it's tragic what happened to her. She's a widow because, you know, her husband, he did something, he was drunk, and it got him killed because he pulled out in front of a six-wheel truck, and they just ran right over him. It's in Thailand. They ain't stopping. They ran right over him, killed him. And but he was drunk. It's a shame. Let's see. Oh, I'm behind on the comments. I'm sorry. Okay, Panay Hart says, my son has difficulty in noising and making friends in Sunday school. He has severe anxiety. So I go to church when he is at school. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. And, you know, God bless you. You know, you recognize what works for him and what doesn't work for him. And, but you know what? Doesn't make him any less special, you know, in God's eyes. He has a place for him. That's why he's your son, and that's why he's here on this earth. There's a place for him somewhere. Joe Schmar, I realize PH is mostly Catholic, but Philippines is mostly Catholic, but do they have like conservative Christian? Yes, they do. Joe Schmo, you'd be surprised. Yes, they do. I know Jenny Lynn, Karen and James, Karen's sister Jenny Lynn, she gets upset because evidently there's some Protestants here that really beat down the Catholics and really talk bad about the Catholic Church and stuff. And while I might agree with some of what they're saying doctrinally, I don't necessarily agree with how they're delivering that, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not. We're not supposed to be going out beating down. You know, now if it's heretical teachings and it's heresy, absolutely we're supposed to talk against that. But just to beat down the Catholic Church because it's Catholic Church, I don't agree with that. They believe a lot of the same of what we believe, but there's some big differences too. But you know, a lot of Protestants need to educate themselves before they open their mouths and talk about things that they don't really know what they're talking about, myself included. But I try to educate myself about those types of matters. Yes, at Joe's there's a lot of it, or there's a lot of, yeah, a lot of talking about the conservative Christian churches. Yeah, there's some here in Iloilo. Joe Schmo, correct. Correct. I get it on. They just let me in. You lost me there, Joe. That's okay. Christian church, but I'm not sure about the conservative way. Yeah, Panayhar, I know what he's asking, and there's a lot of charismatic though too. Yeah, there's a lot of Joe Schmo. There's a lot of charismatic, which I don't prescribe to the charismatic way, but there are some actual conservative. And I actually I went to one when I lived in Batangas. Those people were so gracious, and yeah, that was a special. Yes, a little church, you know, just a little village church, but there's Christian in the past, yeah, and yeah, I have nothing negative to say about that. Yeah, let's see. Pie Heart says, after learning about Christian, I totally understand your perspective. Pie Heart, we are just emotional when we hear things that are against our belief. That's just Filipinos. Well, and this is likewise for some conservative Christians. You know, we're very devout and we have principles, and you know, we get upset too. Sometimes maybe in a wrong way, but also sometimes in a righteous way. Joe Schmo, we are very similar, Colonel, and judgment is up to God. Absolutely. Not me. Yeah, and you know, I have to catch myself sometimes being judgmental on people. We all do. That's human nature. And it's important that we catch ourselves, put ourselves in check sometimes. And I'm real bad with that because my mom was very judgmental. Oh my goodness, she was harsh on people, especially if you were divorced. Oh my goodness, and I don't want to. I need to get off here soon, but my mom was the reason I stayed married as long as I did to this cheating wife that I had, is because I was concerned with how my parents would treat me. I felt like they would disown me because I had cousins and stuff that that got divorced, and my parents pretty much disowned them. They wouldn't go to they wouldn't go to functions that they were going to be at. If they had a if they got remarried, my parents they wouldn't go to the wedding. This is family now, okay? But my parents didn't want to show support for divorce. So I'm like, man, I can't never divorce this hateful lady that I'm married to. I think I told this story before, eh, but finally, when she asked me to leave, and I didn't really have, it wasn't where I really had a choice because she was not going to let me stay in my own house. She wanted me out. And I had to go and have a sit down with my parents. Now, this is before my mom, before the Alzheimer's set in. Actually, pretty much right before it set in. And yeah, I remember sitting down and telling them, and I'm not going to lie to you folks, I was in tears. And I said, hey, we're getting divorced. I'm going to have to divorce her. And I couldn't believe my mom was like, duh, what took you so long? I'm like, what? I about fell out of the chair. I'm like, excuse me? She goes, what took you so long? We've known that girl is not right in the head for years. She's got mental problems. I was just like, my mom loved me. Okay, what can I say? I could do no wrong in my mom's eyes as an adult. When as a kid, it wasn't that way. But my mom was very proud of me and what I had accomplished and what I was doing in life, even though I was doing a job I hated. But my mom always spoke highly of me to other people, I believe. Yeah, she was protective of her youngest son. She was like, even though I'm adopted, my brother is too. We're real brothers, but we were adopted together. But anyway, yeah, she was like, what took you so long? And then she was, now that doesn't mean that you can go out there and get another girlfriend and get remarried now. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. We'll see. I'm like, we'll see. She goes, don't be doing that. You know how we feel about divorce. She goes, then you can get divorced, but you can't get remarried. Okay, Mom. But anyway, I'm not going to say I followed that because I didn't. Joe Schmo, not me. You stayed because you're a good man and had kids and tried to do the right thing. Yeah, Joe, I did, and that's the honest truth. But I also, in the back of my mind, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to respect my parents and respect their wishes because that's the way I was raised, and it was important to me. Obi says, loving people who are hard to love is the hardest thing. It's so easy to revert back to our negative behavior and point fingers at people who do us wrong. I pray for patience and being more humble. Amen. Me too. Obi says, it's so hard. Oh, wow, my battery's down on my phone. So, I'm over 2 hours anyway, folks. I'm going to have to get off here and charge up my phone. I could plug it in, but it's time to get off here anyway. It's late. My neighbors probably want to sleep, and I know they can hear everything I'm saying because of this concrete jungle I live in. But listen, this has been a good conversation tonight. I know it's been a little bit heavy on the spiritual side of things and talking about God and things like that. And I know some people are offended by that. That's not my intention at all. I don't ever want to be offensive to people. I know I am sometimes. And sometimes we need to be, but you know what, we should really try not to be and try to form our words and what we say in a way that is palatable to everyone that's listening. But sometimes it's not going to happen, and I apologize for that. But thank you for those that stuck around, and thank you that are listening. I'm looking up, there's 12 people in the chat. I hate to close it out. 20 thumbs up, that's fantastic. Kind of a heavier subject tonight. It didn't start out the way, but it ended up that way. But it's because of you guys, because of the people that are in here. And these are conversations that maybe you want to have and things you want to talk about. I'm going to support it. I'm going to support you guys. And for the most part, we didn't get any real trolls in here tonight. That's like, thank you, Lord, for that. That's surprising because lately I've been getting some really negative trolls and some people just trying to be disruptive. And then sometimes I get out of character and I gotta comment and get in their face, and I shouldn't be doing it, but it's just, I'm sorry, that's the way I am. It doesn't make it right now. I'm not absolving myself of doing wrong, not at all. But I'm not perfect. You'll hear me say that all the time. Obi says it's so hard. Have a good night, sir. Thank you, Obi. Thanks for being here. I heard those neighbors' dogs earlier, LOL. Bye, Colonel. Yeah, the dogs. They're not the neighbors' dogs. They're just dogs that live on this street. And they like me because I befriended them. I fed them food and they like me now. Look at that. Oh my goodness. There's a blast from the past. Precious Joe, I haven't seen you on my chat in months. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. Precious Joe grew up Catholic and studied in a Catholic school through high school. When I entered a Protestant university, we had a required religion class in my freshman year. I remember feeling deeply confused. I would have been too in a secular school having to take a religion class because a lot of what they're teaching, it's not biblical. Come on now, you know. And hurt when the teacher spoke negatively about the Catholic Church. As a 17-year-old girl, I wasn't prepared for that kind of criticism of the faith I was raised in. It left me feeling lost. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. And I don't know where you went to school or the course you took, but what I've seen at secular colleges, their religion courses, I mean, they're being taught by somebody who's not even a believer, really. They don't even believe the Bible is the Word of God. How can you teach? How can you teach a book, a spiritual book like the Bible, where you don't even believe it? You can't. You're not qualified to teach that. So anyway, on that final note, I should keep going because there's so many people in here. Precious Joe's commenting, so we'll get the comments in there. But I'm starting to get sleepy, folks. I ain't gonna lie. But it also pushed me to reflect more deeply on what I believe. Absolutely. So that's a good thing. Always question. There's nothing wrong with questioning. Especially if someone's telling you something, there's nothing wrong with questioning what they're telling you. There's nothing wrong with going and research and checking it out yourself. What does the book really say? Hold on, let me back up. Oh, the chats are coming in real quick now. Precious Joe, one thing I appreciate about being Catholic is that we are taught not to focus on proving we are right, but to live our faith with humility and respect for others. There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Obi says, that's the power of the Holy Spirit working within you, Precious Joe. Absolutely, Obi, I agree with you. Panay Hart Holmes, I wasn't offended anymore. I see a different perspective. But of course, I have to be careful with other fellow Catholic believers. Yeah, that's right, Panay Hart. And, you know, really our conversation when we were going back and forth was really about the view of divorce by the Philippine government and their lack of view or lack of conviction on people that were living in adultery, even though they have a law, but they're all doing it. Or I shouldn't say all, okay? It's wrong to say all, because all means everyone. Not everyone's doing it. There are devout Catholics out there that are not, but there's so many that are. Okay, and that's all I was saying. I know it upset you when I said that, but if you check the statistics, yeah, well, lots of times the statistics aren't there because nobody's telling on themselves, okay, because they're doing something illegal. But anyway, let's not get into it again. Precious Joe, by the way, good evening, sir. Precious Joe, I'm just happy you showed up. Sorry about that. I went off, but hold on a second. My battery is like, okay, I'm at 14%. My phone's warning me that I've got a low battery. Um, but okay, yeah. Good evening, Precious Joe. I'm just so happy I was saying I'm so happy you're here. I always enjoy having you come around. I haven't seen you in so long, but thank you for stopping back in my live stream. Everything's right with the world again. Precious Joe's here. I appreciate you, really do. Joe Schmo says all, yeah. Uh, links allowed. No, I'm just saying, when I was making a statement saying all the Catholics they're all living in, and that's just not true. I can't say all, but there's a lot of them that do. You know, they separate here in the Philippines, and then usually it's the guy, even the girl, they'll go get another girlfriend or whatever, maybe even have a family with somebody else when technically they're still married because there's no divorce here in the Philippines. Now there's laws about adultery too, but they're difficult to enforce and you get the proof and then both people go to jail. You know, like if a guy wants to hate on his wife so bad, she has a boyfriend, he wants to turn them in for adultery, and he's got all the proof and everything. Well, guess what? Not just the guy goes to jail that's with his wife, she's going to jail too, according to the Philippine law. Precious Joe, I like the topic this evening. Good job, sir. Well, it just kind of, and I hate to use the word evolved because I don't believe in evolution, but it just kind of evolved that way. The conversation just kind of went that way, Precious Joe. It wasn't my intent, and it wasn't my intention to preach at anybody or have a devotion or anything, but it just happened. I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm going to generally try to stay away from politics, but spiritual matters, I can discuss them all the time. It doesn't bother me because they're so much more important than political matters. Okay? Because talking about spiritual matters, we're talking about eternal things. Political things are temporal things. Let's see. Joe Schmo, can I post a Christian church link? I don't care, Joe Schmo. You can post, as long as it's not like something illegal, you can post it, you know. They're not snake eaters, are they? Because I don't prescribe to that. But anyway, I'm getting ready to sign off, folks. Anyway, you can post it, Joe Schmo, if you want, or you can just tell us the name of it. Uh, I don't know if anybody get the link. I don't. I think you're allowed to do that. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't read the fine print. I'm not gonna lie about that. Uh, Joe Schmo, no local church. Is this a? Is this one of the big multimedia, like was it North Point, South Point, North Point, whatever? What are some of those other ones? Um, yeah, some of those I don't necessarily agree with. Some of what they. What's that one? Bethel. I have problems with Bethel, and no, it's local. Okay. Panay Hart said, "Yep, I agree because we don't have divorce. We can be with other while we were still married. LOL. Our government doesn't want divorce." Yeah, I know, and I was just trying to point out that which sin's worse. To me, sin is sin, and yeah, we had a little. You and I we had a long discussion about, and we beat a dead horse on that one. I don't want to rehash it, but anyway, Panay Hart at home. Joe Schmo, no, it's local. Okay. To end the marriage in the Philippines, it costs. Yeah, it's crazy. It's about money. Uh, but it's about the Catholic Church control also, or maybe not about. I shouldn't say it like that. It's more about the government trying to show deference to the Catholic Church. That's a better way to put it, I think. More accurate way. Um, Precious Joe, Panay Hart, yes, will cost you an arm and a leg. Let's hope not literally, but yeah, it's expensive. It's like 300,000, 400,000 pesos for an annulment in the Philippines. It's insane. I've also talked to people where they've said that, hey, and it takes sometimes years for an annulment, but then I've talked to other people who said, no, if you got the right amount of money, you can get an annulment very quickly. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. So what that tells me, it comes down to money. And it's a shame. It shouldn't be like that. Panay Hart, we were controlled for 333 years and still in that effect. Yep. Obi says, the end of marriage breaks up the family tradition and erodes values. U.S. is an example. Oh, absolutely. So is Thailand. But Thailand, is a predominantly Buddhist country, too. Um, just my personal belief. Now, you're right on the money, Obi. And listen, I'm not proud of the fact that I've been married more than one time and I've been divorced more than one time. I'm not proud of that. And, God forgive me, I have to answer for that stuff. And I'm not happy about that. But I also believe in saving my life sometimes. Um, Joe Schmo, U.S. has destroyed families. Yes, they have. A lot of it because of the feminist movement. It's a lot of it, not all of it, but it's a lot of it, and the people turning away from God. That's most of it. The base reason, people turning away from God, and then we can go into all the peripheral reasons. Panay Hart at home. Politicians will have more than 20 kids with different women while still married, haha. Yet they won't pass the divorce. Yeah, it's crazy. That's what I was trying to, when we had the conversation, those are some of the points I'm trying to make. It's they won't change the law, but they're out there living in sin, and it's okay. But it's not okay in God's eyes. It's not okay. So I'm like, why do you try to purport that you're such a devout Catholic when you're breaking the law? You're breaking Catholic, tradition, and breaking God's law also. I mean, come on, folks. But anyway, I upset you. I upset lot of people doing it, so I don't want to do that again. Bruce and Carol stopped in. Good morning from here in Washington. A cold morning, 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Man, it has been a while, Colonel. Yeah, it's been a little bit there, brother Bruce. But and actually, I need to get off of here because I'm starting to, my eyes are getting heavy, and I need to get off here and get to bed. But it's good that you stopped in. I appreciate that. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, and that helps my channel get noticed some more. And maybe I picked up a couple subscribers now, which that's okay. But I really need watch hours, folks, and I hate begging, I hate asking for it. But if y'all, I mean, I know some of my topics are boring, and some of my live streams are boring, and some of my videos aren't the best, best productions. But if y'all can, I'm not even, if y'all can help me out, I'll just put it that way. If you can help out my channel, I greatly appreciate it. Someday, this channel, Lord willing, will be monetized. I don't know. I don't need it. So I'm going to have to figure out, I mean, I don't need the money. So I can use the money, but I don't need it. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I need to do something with some philanthropy or whatever. I'm going to have to do something to help others if I actually get monetized and do stuff. I might need to get some electronics and whatnot to help the channel, but beyond that, I need to give back. I need to give back to others. Give back to God, basically. It's all His anyway. Commander says, good night, sir. Did I miss one before that? Joe Schmo, good night. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. Get some, excuse me, I'm going to get some sleep soon. I've been talking too much because my throat's tickling. Panayhar says, it will be nice when divorce is approved in the Philippines, to be honest, because there's a lot of abusive marriage. Yeah, Panayhar, I'm with you, though. I don't push divorce because I don't necessarily agree with it, but I know that it was allowed, and God allowed it in certain situations. The Catholic Church does not. They see it differently. And really, it's not what God intended. Didn't want that. He said because of the hardness of our hearts. He allowed Moses to tell the children of Israel they can give a bill of divorcement. But yeah, there's a lot of abuse in the Philippines. There's a lot of abuse in Thailand. There's a lot of abuse everywhere, to be honest. Just sometimes we hear about it in some places more than others. Wow, 14 people in here. Thank you, folks, so much for hanging out here. Hopefully, we're talking about things that are helpful to you, or that you're interested in, or that you can add to it. I'm going to stay on here just because we have so many people, but I really need to get some sleep. Obi says, that's why it's very important to get married under the teachings of God and not for worldly desires. Isn't that the truth? I've been telling people too, if you enter into a relationship purely for sex, probably not going to last. Probably not going to last. And unfortunately, through the 60s and the love movement, that's what society was taught in America. And now look at it. Look at the U.S. now. I mean, we got people running around. They don't know what sex they are. They don't know. They're gender confused. Gender has nothing to do with sex. Gender is a linguistic word. Has to do with language. It doesn't have anything to do with physical. But we use it now to talk about. It's insane. What's going on in the U.S., in my opinion, is totally insane. I'm sorry, and you know what? If you're a quote unquote lady boy or whatever, or if you're what's the fancy transgender or whatever, it used to be transvestite, now it's transgender, whatever you want to call yourself, that's up to you. That's up to you. I'm not going to beat you over the head over that or anything like that. Why? That's your decision. And I used to tell people, because we had homosexual and whatnot on the job with me, and I used to tell people, hey, I don't agree with your lifestyle. I don't agree with it. But you know what? You can still work for me, and you can still do the job. What you do in the privacy of your home is what you do in the privacy of your home. The only thing I ask is that you don't force me to condone it, and you don't force me to speak about how it's so wonderful, because I don't agree with it. And that's why I retired, folks. They wanted to force me to say something that I agreed with something that I didn't. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Uh, Panay Hart says, but I don't know if that will ever happen. Yeah, I don't. There's some people in the Filipino Congress Center or whatever they're called. They said no, as long as they're alive, there will be no divorce in the Philippines. As long as they're in the government, no. They flat out said that. We'll bench watch you, sir. Sir, thank you, precious Joe. Wow, that would be so helpful. Thank you so much. I had a big jump. I went on the YouTube studio, and I had a big jump from the 9th to the 10th. What was it? Did the math? Yeah, I went up 29 hours. I was really happy with that. That's pretty good for the Colonel, you know. So I was happy with that. If I hit 30 hours, well, I'm like, I'll do a little jig. Yeah. It's pretty good for me. But I know it's because certain people, and like you, Pressure, if you do that, and I know Norm helps me out. Certain people, they try to help me out. I try to help myself too. I ain't gonna lie. Video your model building. Joe Schmo says that. I've thought about that, and I might do it. It'll have to have some heavy editing. I'm gonna tell you that because I ain't gonna lie to you. I get mad at these stickers sometimes. They're frustrating. They try to get them just. Yeah, I get a little torqued, and I might say something I shouldn't say. You know, when I'm like, yeah, I got to be real careful. But that's not a bad idea. I have thought about that. But thank you for that. Appreciate that. It's a good idea, I think. Bruce and Carol say, okay, see you later. We'll watch after this. Be safe and God bless you. And in Jesus Christ, we are saved. Absolutely. See you again. And maybe I will catch you when you start. Peace, bro. Thanks, Bruce, man. Appreciate that. OB says, but we are human and not perfect. Absolutely. Divorce is necessary to move forward most of the time. Yeah, and that's what God said. Because of the hardness of your hearts. He knows we're sinful creatures. He allowed it. It's not what he designed, and it's not what he wanted for human beings. But it's what happened because of the result of the fall in the Garden of Eden. Because of sin. Panay Hart says, the thing is we were taught that divorce is a sin. We don't leave our spouse. So being in the culture and was taught while growing up, a lot of Filipinos will endure the abusive marriage. Yeah, and isn't that sad? I remember back when I was in Bible college, I wrote a paper about that and about the abuse in the marriages and should you still stay married? And what I ended up concluding in that paper back then, in my view, and this is when I was 19 years old. I wrote that paper, 20 years old maybe. So my views have changed and evolved over the years based on experiences and whatnot in studies that I've done. But what I said back then was the person that's being abused don't have to get divorced, but you need to get out. You need to get away. At least separate. You got to get out of that situation. Because what happens in abuse cases, they escalate, and each time, and it's usually the men beating the women, but it could happen the other way around. I've seen some women that could put a hurting on me, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow it. But anyway, the abuse, especially physical abuse, it escalates. And eventually that woman, usually the woman, is put in the hospital, near death. And then if they go back, guess what? Next time, when the police come to the scene, they may have to call the coroner. And it's wrong. So I came to the conclusion is, if it's physical abuse like that, there's nothing wrong with getting away from the situation. If you don't believe in divorce, well, don't divorce him or her or whatever. But you know what? Separate yourself from that situation. If you got to hide. Life is precious. Right, Precious Joe? Precious Joe says, I think people in America is so privileged and so spoiled and so bored that they don't know what to do but create new genders. Man, I tell you, ain't that the truth? There's probably a lot of truth to that. All I'm going to say is, my opinion, it's wrong. I'll just leave it at that. There's you are. Okay. Yeah, I know what you meant. Is that that's the link you were posting there? Love Stream Official, YouTube.com. Hold on. Let me write that down. So maybe I can check that out later. Loves. Oh, my phone's dying, folks. Loves Stream Official. Hold on. Let me see if I can plug my phone in, folks. Hold on a second. My battery's just about done. I was going to get off here, but hold on. We got some juice again. Okay. I don't know if it'll be able to keep up. I'm down to 4%, folks. But on the battery. Panay Hart. So if you are going to argue about the importance of divorce, that's difficult to make them see your perspective unless they get out of that situation and live in a different country. Okay, Panay Hart. But you understand what I was saying now, right? Doesn't mean you agree with it, but you understand. Hey, Chappie's in the house. I was getting ready to wrap it up, Chappie, but welcome. And good morning to you, sir. Panay Hart. Also, a lot of cases, we don't even know what the meaning of being abused, especially those who live in the poverty areas. Yeah, because they've been around it their whole life, and it's all that they know. And, yeah, it's sad. It's just sad. It's a shame. Obi says, I feel that marriage is used for benefits and not as much as a holy matrimony or bond. I get that, Obi. Yeah, and I can understand that. Yep. I have to agree with that a lot. Not always, but yeah, a lot of cases that's the truth. And it's because, especially in America, how's this since the 60s? What's been the focus in America when it comes to love? Sex. Sex has been the focus, not real love, agape love, or not real godly love, but just sexual love based on sex. That's why it's so temporal. That's my belief. Panay Hart says, yes, I totally agree with you because me and my husband discussed the same thing for many years. Precious Joe says, oh, hold on. Precious Joe, hold on, let me do something real quick. There, Precious Joe, I gave you some color. Okay, I don't have too many moderators, folks, because really I forget about it. But Precious Joe's been a long-time viewer, and I appreciate her coming back. Panay Hart from Precious Joe, yes, I agree. How do you honor your faith while also protecting your well-being and dignity? It's really a struggle for some Catholics. Precious Joe, it's a struggle for believers. It's a struggle for all Christians. You know, not just Catholics, even Protestants, it's a struggle. Panay Hart, we don't even know the difference of being abused and being neglect. Those were in alien terms for us, to be honest. Well, isn't neglect a form of abuse? I would say it is. I would argue neglect is also a form of abuse. And that's my viewpoint on that. So I'm at the bottom of the chat. I think it's been a good chat, folks. It's a little bit different tonight. And I haven't really gone off in this area of talking about spiritual things. It's kind of heavy. You start talking about some things and what people believe. A lot of people get upset real quickly because a lot of us even among Catholics, they have differences in what they believe. There's not just one type of Catholic. There's many different types of Catholics too. Now, a lot of them would try to tell you that that's not the case, but it is the case. That's the reality, just like the Protestants. All right, salute there, Obi. All right, folks, listen. I got to get some sleep, and my throat's getting really dry. And I appreciate everybody being here. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. It totally, as always, the discussion went somewhere different than what I had thought. And that's okay, though, because it allowed me to have a longer than usual live stream, and that's going to help the watch hours. And I had so many people in here tonight. 24 thumbs up. That's amazing to me. And all right, I lost my gimbal. I'm losing my gimbal. So I'm going to have to shut it down now. let's see. I want to get these last two. James and Karen. Good night, everyone. Thanks, James, for sticking around. I hope I wasn't too offensive to you guys. Uh, Panay Hart, our belief was also part of the government. Chappie says, "Okay, Colonel, I just seen you were on, and it's 8:30 a.m. Here in the good old U.S. of A. God bless." All right, folks. God bless you too. The Colonel's out. Take care. Thanks everyone for coming in. Michael, good night, Mr. Colonel. Good night, everybody. Take care. Be safe. Remember, tell the people that you love them, because you never know when it's going to be your last chance to do so. Good night, James and Karen. All right, take care, folks.